Hi everyone, it's Mr. C of Roku Critic. Welcome to Nollywood Film Club podcast. Oh my goodness. Wow, are you in for a treat today if you at all like listening to people talk about films? Good films, great films. I'm on record. It's not a secret that I think this film we're going to be discussing today is the greatest Nigerian movie of all time as of 2023 when I am recording this, even though we discussed this in 2022. But still, nothing has come close to taking its crown. So you will hear me being probably passionate in this space, which is fine. I encourage passionate people on the podcast, on the space, on the podcast. I guess for you, um, I very much enjoyed it. It was a blast actually hearing many people discuss in favorable terms. I think our good is close to 2 hours long, which is close to a record. Um, yes, this was such a fun emotion. I actually listened to this space. I haven't been listening to the previous ones, the last few ones for a while because I'm entering that place where I remember quite clearly what happened. So there's no need for me to go down the alleyway. But this one I listened to. Oh my goodness, what a joy to listen to people talk about something that they actually love. Anyway, I am going to stop rambling and mumbling along. But before that, I do have to give a special shout out to Chuko, one of the directors, for just coming on to say a little something at the end of everybody speaking. Thank you, very much appreciated. Also, if you haven't seen this film, can I appeal to you? You should watch it before you listen to the discussion. I think we can only enrich. I think, as with most of the films we discuss on Film Club, we can only enrich your experience. Some movies might not be worth the watch, but this one definitely is. So please do watch it if you have a chance. And without further wasting of time, I hope you enjoy Nollywood Film Club discussing, in my opinion, one of the greatest Nigerian films of all time, one of my personal favorite films of all time, Eyimofe. Anyway, but welcome to Nollywood Film Club. Discuss movies every Sundays, Nollywood ones. Today we are going to be talking about Eyimofe. This is my desire. Available on Prime. Oh my goodness. A lot of you who follow me know what I feel about this movie and how I feel about this movie. It's my greatest film of all time. But it's not about me, like I said. We'll be discussing the goods, everything we like about it, anything we don't like about it. I'm sure some people will have some, but yeah. So let's give it a go. Let's start. Atas, what were some of the things you liked about this movie?
So I like both stories individually, and I found the lead actor very convincing. I think I really liked the world that they existed in. It was very colorful, very authentic. Uh, yeah, it was really good. I think it had a lot of really good parts.
Okay. Lots of good parts. If you're not used to Nollywood Film Club, Otas is our shortest speaker. But thank you. Anika, tell us some of the things you liked about Eyimofe.
Do you want to start with something?
Okay. Okay, Fider, sure. Fider, please go ahead.
Okay, hi. Okay, these are my likes for Eyimofe. I
Mm-hmm.
like that the movie was directed by both brothers and written by one of them as well. It reminded me of the Coen brothers directing together, except in this case, the brothers are twins, which is so cool. I liked the introductory scene and how grainy it was. I liked when I saw even more grainy scenes. I love that. I like the dress the woman wore when she first came on the scene, Mofe's sister, and how articulate the boys were when discussing the dinner scene. I generally like the costuming and setting locations and set designs. I like the main actor Mofe. I thought he already had it when I first saw him in the trailer. I liked how he was always fixing things. I liked that we saw that a lot, especially at his workplace. It was very authentic to see how fixing things was instrumental to his personality. I loved it. I loved his character. He had like a silent strength. He was noble. He was kind. I also liked his relationship with Wisdom and how that developed to more. But I loved how he had that relationship with his sister and her kids before they passed. So then I liked the camera work, especially in the scene when Mufe returns from work in the morning and is walking through the compound, and the scene where they are carrying the coffin and loading it onto the danfo. The way the camera captures every angle and follows them as they move, I like that we saw it from that perspective as opposed to in the face. I think it added like a solemn air to it. I liked how there was a scene referring to the generator in the beginning, which made it easy for the generator to not be a random factor when finding out the cause of death. I liked how the air of grief hung in the air in the sitting room when Mofe goes into the village. I love the scenes introducing the village. I really enjoyed the cinematography in this film because when I'm watching Nigerian films, I like to see scenes I could paint, and there are so many paintable scenes there, and it was just everything for me. That scene where the program Mofe's sister was watching replays when Mofe is at home, the way he sits on the arm of the same chair she sat on, head bowed in remembrance, that feeling rang true for me because you could just recall the memory of her once laughing at that same program earlier on. I like the introductory scene of Mercy taking her passport picture, her staring into the camera and the white background pulling up silkily behind her. I like the landlord a lot. He was caring, empathetic, compassionate, offering to assist when he needed to. The actor was extremely good at delivering the character's likability. And for me, that started with when he visited Mufe after his sister had died. I liked Grace and her sister. The two actresses had good chemistry and could hold their own. I enjoyed watching them, their conversations with each other, and even Grace's dynamic with her friend and her friend's mother being accommodating of her. I like the dialogue a lot, and I had many favorite lines. I most especially enjoyed the entire robe scene between Mercy and if that's the sister's name, and the American guy. The emotions they conveyed and the Americans overthinking. They're presented perfectly on his face and in the way he responded. I also liked how Mercy delivered all her lines in that scene. You could sense some form of comfort and connection there between them, at least for that part of the film. And my last final thing that I liked was the scene where we find out that Grace sold her phone and the way she holds her and they lie down on the bed. It was just a good cementing of the relationship they have and, the finality of everything. Thank you.
Thanks, Fida. That was yeah. Obviously, always you come prepared. So many things out there, stretched out.
I love you, Fida.
Stretched out from beginning to end. Thank you so much. All right, Vanessa, do you want to say some of the things you liked about Eyimofe?
Sure. Like Fida, I really enjoyed a lot of stuff was set up for this film, and I think we always talk about how stuff just shows up in Nollywood films without being accurately set up, and you're wondering why. But this was completely different. Establishing how fixing stuff has always been a part of Mofe's life. And so it makes sense that he's who he is. And that's just it. Basically, his fixing stuff is his person. And I think that was a great way of showing us that character and introducing us to that character versus telling us who he was. Um, it was so easy to see the love between his sister and his nephews in the moments that they had together, in the way he immediately fixed his nephew's tennis paddle, and it ties in very nicely with how fixing stuff is who he is. And I guess because it's who he is, it's also in the way that he shows love. And so I really enjoyed seeing that. His performance, I feel like I don't think anyone has said anything about the performances in this. And it was very obvious that these people are really good actors. It gave me probably one of my favorite Lala Akindoju's performances. I really liked seeing her in this. I really enjoyed this performance, and I guess maybe that's credit to the directing, because it really pulled something out of her. So yeah, the cinematography was beautiful. The set design and like the production quality of it all was just, I mean, I know we talk about how, I don't know if anyone talked, but I think we've talked about how Nollywood treats regular Nigerians in films, and how Nollywood likes to wear poverty or just regular life as what's the word I'm looking for? They like to treat it like, I don't want to use the word poverty porn, but they do, in a bid to elicit some kind of emotion versus just showing us real people living real lives. And I think this was evident in the set design of it all. The the premise of wanting to leave Nigeria and doing everything that you can to leave Nigeria. Because when we talk about, I mean, even on the conversations that we have online with regards the Jackpa movement, and people always having these conversations as to how, oh, you're privileged to be able to talk about Jackpa. But it's like, even people who aren't in a financially privileged position are doing things that are within their means and within their powers to leave this country. And I think telling this story from that point of view is just really powerful. Um, the way grief was handled in this was very, very respectful. Um, it didn't. It wasn't it wasn't an outward show, like an exaggerated show of grief. Mufe wasn't outlandishly crying or screaming or rolling on the floor, as we like to do when we portray emotions, be it anger, sadness, pain, whatever. This was, you know, a telling of one way that people deal with grief. And sometimes it's just to sit in it in your silent moments, and it hits you. And that was really accurately told. The second story I really liked, because it dealt with a whole lot of other issues. This wasn't a character who was, I don't know, there was no shame. You know, there's that thing of Lagos babe who is going out with so and so man, blah 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 blah. There wasn't any shaming her in this, and I think that's the thing. There wasn't any shaming anybody in these stories. It was just a telling, you know. And I think that's important, because I get it, as filmmakers, your personal beliefs and moral compass, I don't know, whatever, seems to color um your storytelling. But this wasn't that. This was just a telling. And sometimes we need that. There's no need for any personal inferences, no blah 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 blah. Just a telling of regular people going through regular stuff. I'm so glad it didn't have the most outlandish of happy endings. They weren't on planes going to the abroad. It was, for Mofe, his happy ending was opening his shop and just moving on with life. And that's powerful. Um, yeah, this was really strong. I genuinely, and I think because I wasn't watching, I don't know, maybe it's how good this was. I wasn't watching it to look for anything to talk about, really. I just really enjoyed watching this. This was a film that I just sat with. Um, and I guess maybe because there wasn't anything wrong with it, you know, production wise, sound wise, all of that. My eyebrow wasn't raising at something. I was like, "Eh," and then it takes me out of it. Nothing took me out of these stories. Nothing took me out of it. And I think that was powerful in itself. I just really enjoyed seeing this.
Thanks, Vanessa. I'm gonna gonna try to keep it together. Yo, no, thinking about this movie just brings a lot of emotions back, and especially when people talk about it and say their own side. So yeah, I guess one of the things Vanessa pointed out was this sort of distance, taken aback, not really inserting your morals or anything. Because I think it's possible for somebody to watch this film and still be judgmental of some of the characters in it, because like all this movie is doing is
just showing it.
showing it like, and it has this real documentary type feel, which yeah. I don't want to study my own good, but yes, point is yes, I felt that. All right, Elizabeth, do you want to say some things you liked about Eyimofe?
First, I'd like to say that I want to apologize to everybody first because I did not finish watching this movie. And now it's not because of lack of interest, guys. It's because I've been dealing with a lot health-wise this past week. I had a tooth extraction. I wasn't really going to watch a movie while dealing with a dry socket. I started watching it today, and I just kept pausing because I didn't want it to finish. That does not sound smart, but that was the reason why I did not finish. But so I've actually gone like a lot. I think I only have like maybe 40 minutes max. I've gone in 1 hour 15 minutes. So that's what my review is going to be based on. So what I love the most about this movie is the way it was shot with the audience in mind. And I'll say this because like the death that happened, we saw the grief. And I like that even though we were first introduced to Mofe's sister just like really early, and when the death happened, I like that. I mean, we don't have so much to like say we're connected to her as far as this story, but we've seen her happy. We've seen her like a brother, children. We've seen her interact with her family, especially Mofe. So we see and receive this death in whatever state that we are in right there. And I think it is going to be very personal, the way each person takes or receives this death is going to be very relatable to whatever situation that you're in. Because personally, when I saw that scene, because this movie doesn't employ any form of like gimmick or melodrama to try to convince or make you do something as the audience, like it isn't leading you on what to do with editing or music or any of those. So personally, I didn't cry and I didn't even feel sad, but what I felt was a lot of disappointment because I felt like, oh my god, Mofe's money, because she said she was going to transfer the money. So that was the first thing that came to my head. And I also see that as almost like a personal mirror for me, because that's how I felt, because in my reality is that I'm now very much desensitized to death. And I think that's a very powerful way of telling a story, because in that moment, this is how I received it. And I know that the way different people receive it, depending on how relatable or where they are in emotion, whatever state they're in that moment. And that's what I mean by this movie was shot with the audience in mind. So because it didn't employ any of this melodramatic way and convincing me of my sadness, if it had done that, this would have been an entirely different movie, right? This would be something else, and it wouldn't be a movie. Before I go into the stories, some of the other things that stood out to me, like the colors that look good in film, the red, the yellow, the green, the blue. And I like how this color pop, especially the red and the yellows, you see that very often in so many frames. And I think this gives it this visual, uh, in a way, I don't want to use the word stylized, but there is this thing that it does to me when I'm watching that I really love. I think there are other movies that I really like their coloring, but not in they're not film, right? The ones that I really like, they were not shot in film. So I'm not trying to remember, but I'm trying to remember the ones where I really saw a lot of these red and or yellows, like in the mood for love. Anyways, so I like the colors. I like the way it stands out, the frames, a lot of the frames, the shots, the close-up shots when it is necessary. In fact, there was that shot with, in the beginning, and you're seeing that the power box, and then it goes, and then when you see Mofe's face also, it's like he's facing this daunting thing. It's madness, the wires, there's a lot of madness going on, and that's actually how Mofe's life is. He's just trying to navigate one day at a time. You really don't know, like, we don't know his story. He wants to leave the country. He's an engineer that just works, fix small things for people. And again, characterization for Mofe, he's not like, I really like his characterization in the sense that he's not the sort to go for something. Now, I've not finished watching it, which is quite a shame. But from what I've seen so far, he's not the sort of person to go for something. He's like the sort of person to receive things in the sort of sense, like receive. He has no accounts of his own. His sister has all the money. I'm presuming he's including his own money savings. He's often told what to do. Not like he's often told what to do, but like look at that scene where he went to collect his passport and the guy that was going to do the passport for him, this guy was asking him the question and responding and giving him instruction. I found that and Mufe just sat there saying, okay, all right. And that's the thing about him. It didn't happen once or twice. It was something that keeps happening, and then instead of saying what is in his mind, he would just resort to just one liners like he's tired. Is that even when he was mad at his dad with the way he handled his sister's death, he just sat there, is displeased about the entire situation, but he just stood up and needs to go. He didn't give his father his mind. Even when they went to price the coffin, you can see that he's displeased with what, but he said, so you said we should probably, so you don't even have money, and he just left like that. So somebody else would probably feel like, in his grief, in his anger, he should say more, he should do more. The same thing with the lawyer when we're telling him, just Mofe just sits there and people just tell him what to do. But you know that one thing that he finds joy in is maybe just fixing wires and fixing things for people. And that's when he reacted and started destroying things. You can see that this is Mofe all pent up, like he's had all of these things in him that he's not said any form of what else did I like? I think acting. So it was really nice seeing Sadiq Daba again. I mean, God rest his soul. But I really like, he didn't say so much. And I think he had all of like two scenes throughout, like at least to the part where I've watched it. And I really liked his depiction of his character because, I mean, I don't think I've heard Sadiq Daba speak anything less than impeccable English every single time I've seen him on my screen. The acting was good. I mean, the contemplative way that this movie was shot, the the acting just works. The acting just works in this world that we are part of, right? Because we're just seeing it like reality. There's really not there isn't a lot of external conflicts, right? That there's not a lot of external drama, going on. We're just following these characters and their and the things happening to them, like the internal conflict. Well, there's external, like the death, but it was also part of Mofe's journey, right? Like he needs to travel out. Now he cannot travel out, but so many things going on with his life. So that's what we're just taking in. One other thing that I like is the vagueness of the time period that we're in. Like I said, I'm just 1 hour, 15 minutes in, and I think at some point I'm like, what time are we in? What time are we in? Oh, that's a POS. So I Google, when did POS come to Nigeria? So, so like, I know it's not recent. I know it's not even in the last 5 years, maybe 10 years. Yeah, no, maybe not. Anyways, I I really like that we're not even concerned about the time this is set in. So there's really nothing standing out, jarring you like, oh, this is something that happened last year. Oh, this is something that happened during this Japa wave, right? This is just something that you're watching and you're part of. I really just like that, the time period. I don't know what's happening there. So I think that's one of the things I like also. Some of the mundane things about the production that I liked, like like some scenes. I mean, a couple of people have talked about, the interactions between characters. There was a scene that stood out to me rather. It was when Nepa took the light. See, in every other Nigerian movie that I've watched, I think, okay, apart from one that Genevieve died and she was a ghost. Anyways, there was a part where they took lights and they took like there was a pause and then this guy just continues talking. I really like that because every other movie that I've seen is going to be like, NEPA, why have they not given us like somebody struggling to switch on candle or lamp or something, just adding that some form of world building, right? But this is a perfect world building for me because I think everybody has used. I don't want to use the word real again, but that's just it. It just merged. It just merged like well with the storytelling. So it brings me to the fluidity in which this story is the fluid. I think it's fluidity that this story is told, and I like that we're seeing the lives converge. So this movie is not just about buffet, right? It's also about I'm sorry, I apologize, I've forgotten her name. And her sister Grace, they're trying to travel to Italy. The first time we saw them, with the words collide, where our characters, where they are in the same scene, was that spot in the hospital. I don't now because I've not finished this movie. I really can't see if there is some form of if it's symbolic. I will find out anyways. But that's the hospital where Mofe's sister is in, and he really can't bring her out for money reason. Now, Grace is here for checkup. But anyways, I like how I don't know how the story is parallel. Again, I've not finished it. Woe me. But I like that we've seen how our two characters' lives converge at some point. I mean, they're not living the same life, they're just living in the same house, I presume, because Mr. Vincent is the landlord, right? Or the caretaker, or whatever. So at the core of it for me, from my experience watching this, is that I like the care with which these stories are told. I mean, Vanessa was saying she doesn't want to use poverty porn, which is really what happens most times. And yeah, poverty here is not a character, it's not a costume, rather. It's not an applique. It's not dropping like salt be throwing some salt, right? And it's not exactly the entire identity of this film, right? It is just it's just is it's just characters that you've probably heard about, seen, or that you are, so you can receive, like I said, this movie was shot with the audience in mind, so you can receive it as it is, like you can receive it in whatever state that you're in, so whatever interpretation like that you want to give it because of how you relate to these characters, please go ahead. Anyways, that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, Elizabeth. Finish the film.
Brave of you coming to film club before finishing.
Amazing that still able to download all of that though from that. But yes, one of the things you mentioned about that box, the electricity box. I don't know whether you've gotten to the part where they start fixing it, but like you can't. I think he's using toothpicks, and inside there to like patch some things up, and inside there you can see where they've folded like bits of papers to like help. It's just that is so nice. That's just Nigeria, like in a nutshell. If like a frame of what like people are living through in their lives, and like just anyway, all right. My turn is coming. All right, Inka, you seem like you're ready.
So sorry about that. It was something I had to quickly do. All right, so the very glad that you recommended this movie. And like I said, I'm not going to be salty about this movie. I am still salty about HBO, but it's okay. Um, so the first thing I kind of wanted to talk when I saw the movie, I wanted to like research and see what the directors were trying to say, and I kind of like want to talk about the casting. Um, I do. I am glad to see Sadiq Daba. I think this is his last movie before he left, before he died. And as Elizabeth said, it is quite interesting to see him speak in Nigerian pidgin. I said Nigerian pidgin, but to speak in that because normally it doesn't. It doesn't. It's always giving like it's always giving this um highly trained speaking voice thing that it does come from the generation in Nigeria where you have to talk like that if you want to be a broadcaster or something like that. So it makes sense. And it's kind of good to see that. Um, I realized that some of the casts that he used they were first time actors on film. And even Mofe, you can kind of hear sometimes his accent taps in, right? You can kind of hear it sometimes, like, okay, but it's still amazing. And it's just like everybody did very great, gave very good performances. And I liked it. The white guy was an actual actor that can act very good. So they just to the casting, we have to thank what's her name? Lo- Lola King Ojoko?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, she was a casting director and she casted herself, and she was also fantastic. Like as a annoying manager that doesn't necessarily listen, it was all well. It was all just beautiful, just wonderful. Now I personally believe that acting in movies, as important as they are, it's also how like the crew frames and acting. It also impacts the acting, the music, everything. How it's all made also impacts the acting. So that's why most of the time I don't necessarily always kind of blame actors. And I have to say, directors in this they directed, and they didn't make their actors look stupid, right? If the actors made a mistake, they didn't put that mistake in the final cut of the movie. They said cut. You had to know they had to say cut or do this or this. They took probably multiple takes of something. I don't know, but like there is something that you see that there is some sort of care, and this took longer, and they were willing to spend the time on set. It's not whenever I talk about profit here, I'm not saying it's bad for people to get profit. We live in a capitalist system. It's what we have to do, whatever. It's just that if you're going to give out a product, at least make the product of some standard. You can always make substandard products because that's what capitalism requires, but just of some standard. And we can see, and they did this. They did this in film. Most Nigerian movies are digital, right? They use 60 minute films in this. This is film, and film is much, much harder. Actual film, which is another thing I want to impress. I want to say amazing. Most movies nowadays, I'm not even really talking Nigeria, even most Hollywood movies that even if they make it in post-production, they make it look like it's film. It's not film. It's digital. Almost everything is using digital cameras. And in film, you have less time to do shots. Like you have to get it correct. Less time to be reshooting and reshooting. And yet you could see that it took time and patience to do this. So what is the excuse of other Nigerian movies? You're using digital, okay? If somebody makes a mistake, if there's something that is not supposed to be on the something and you catch it, very obvious ones. I'm not talking about very small ones that's maybe it got, but very obvious ones and you catch it. Why don't you just reshoot it? You're right there. That's it. This movie, amazing. I'm just wow. And they spent a lot more money on it because again, they're shooting in film. Film is expensive. As when I watched the movie too, I was seeing very much that like, oh, I was thinking about like, I don't know if some of you have watched like the movies from Taiwan in the 90s and 80s, in the late 80s and like 90s. So the Taiwanese wave, I believe that's what they call it. I was thinking about movies like that, and I was just like, wow, it looks kind of like that. The storyline is a family storyline. It's nothing too outrageous. It's about humanity. It's about going everyday life. And I was thinking about that, and they said that, and I was like, wow, that's amazing. Um, and I absolutely love the storyline. One of the reasons, as everybody has said about like why they like the storyline, is like it's just life. Like there's nothing to um it's not created to be melodramatic. It's not created to get s- as much butts in seats, the sort of ways that we all know because we've been watching movies for a very, very long time. We've been watching film for a very long time. So we know that, oh, this it's none of that. It's just telling what we can perceive to be like a life, an actual true life. Um Indeed, there is no ridiculous happy ending, as everybody has said. And that's one thing I do like about it. The ending for Mofe in the end helps blessing and helps gives the money to his father, even though we see that the father is is highly selfish, highly just horrible, terrible stuff. It takes on that burden. It is something that happens in real life. Like, and I I've not found a lot of movies nowadays, recent movies, that have talked about the fact that yes, indeed, people are trash, people do trashy things, but there should be always somebody, in a way. It is sad, it is tragic that it doesn't necessarily get its justice in the way that that we think that justice should be. Like justice should be like, oh, kick the person to the core of everything. But the realities of life is that somebody is going to have to swallow that and just do the right thing. There's a tragedy in it, but there's also a joy in it. There's also a joy in it. And I very much like that the movie sort of quietly celebrates them. It does celebrate that sort of thing, right? And I'm glad for that. Um, there's also a tragedy in the story of what was it? In the story of Rose, right? In the end, she does choose to marry or to be with San Vincent. She doesn't necessarily love Sir Vincent, and Sir Vincent knows that. And I kind of like how the movie does not necessarily have villains, except in some places it does have villains, but does not necessarily have villains with some of the people that are just trying to live their life, right? She doesn't love this man. She doesn't think this man does not fulfill her ideal of what she wants, of her desire, right? But conditions, this is the best that she can get. At least he's a respectful man. At least he will treat her well. And she can be able to care for her sister. These are some of the decisions and choices that happen in life that we often don't celebrate in our ways of storytelling. And I personally blame capitalism for that because of like this sold. But if you go back in the past and past stories before, like it tells this type of story of like things happen in life and people make choices based on the choices of life that they have. And they will get on with life. They will live on with life. And life is a fulfilling life. It doesn't necessarily have to be this amazing story of journey of hero's journey, like Joseph Campbell says. No, life is not an hero's journey. And most stories, by the way, never actually fit the hero's journey. Joseph Campbell, you didn't do a very good job, but whatever. It is not that. And this type of storytelling is amazing to see it on screen. And especially because this is more amazing because this is a more recent movie. And movies and shows have not really been doing this type of story. No matter where online, where from what global world you watch it, they've not really been doing this type of story. It's in the with like it's not been happening. I don't know why, but it's good to see it. It's amazing to see it, and especially it is a Nigerian story. And by the way, this movie is so I don't. It's like I know it cannot go for Oscars because well, the time has gone past it. It can, but also it's predominantly in English, so we can't do international feature because they need it to be an actual foreign language. And this is the way actual Nigerians speak, right? We speak with pidgin English most of the. We also speak in our tradition in our native tongue, but we also speak in pidgin English. So this movie cannot be. It would not because there are other things that has to be going in. But this movie is a very very good movie. It's a very very good movie. It's it's amazing. It's also very Nigerian, right? It shows Lagos itself, and not just the ritzy parts of Lagos that all these movies that want to be. Especially, I'm telling this to like filmmakers, especially because they want to like go international, right? They want to go international. There's only very particular places of Lagos that they've only been showing us. And I get it. It's not easy to shoot in Mushin. It's not easy to shoot in there, the area boys and all that stuff. Okay. But this movie is a love story to also Lagos. And like, it's not Banana Island, Lagos. It's not all those ritzy, lively, it's not, I didn't even see the bridge once in this Lagos. I didn't even know that that bridge was there. And I loved it. It's Lagos itself is a character in the story, like just the everydayness of Lagos, like just and the movie changed location quite a couple of times. It does reuse location and it changes locations quite a couple of times, and it's locations that make sense to the characters that we're seeing. And also the characters that we're seeing, these are poor. Everybody has mentioned that these are poor characters. And can you see our Nigerian movie that just treated poor characters with respect? They are like human beings. They are human beings. They're simple human beings living their lives. Even this story has like the contemplativeness of death, right? It has it better than the movie that we watched the end that we just finished watching. What's it called? Death, the King's Assimilation. It shows that so much more beautifully than a movie where the essential theme of it is death. And it's not the essential theme of this movie. And that's just saying something. And uh so just all this. Somebody mentioned In the Mood for Love. The person also Wakashek, the people also said that they were like inspired by that, and it's just so beautiful. The movie does create as a criticism of like I do feel like the movie did add a little bit of criticism of, and the people that it does a little bit criticize is Shay, the one that the friend of the white guy, and that group. It does have a little bit criticism of it because we see the way they talk, we see the way they interact, we see the movie gives us time to see that the camera pans on them a little bit. It does have a criticism of them, and I'm okay with having a criticism of those people. And it shows not only like they are poor Nigerians, they are also rich Nigerians who are assholes. It shows that. So I don't know. There is nothing bad to really say about this movie. This movie is a very Nigerian movie. It's very wonderful. It's very beautiful. The production design. Want to talk about the production design? Amazing. It looks like actual people's living room. It looks like it. I'm not sure. I'm not looking at stuff, and it's wonderful. Like whoever did the production design, the set design, and everything, wonderful. She shot beautiful. Everything wonderful. So let me stop if I continue to talk too much.
All right. All right. Thanks, Inka. No, I feel you. I feel you. Somebody might need to tell me to stop today as well. I don't know. But you guys are really doing well, you guys are taking a lot of my points. So that's good to see that other people are feeling some of the things I was feeling. So like if you want to if you don't want to come up and speak, please just leave a comment or use the hashtag Nollywood Film Club. We'll pin your tweet and we'll read it out. But like otherwise, you can just request to speak and you can come on. We'll go to you can review also on Nolly Data. It's the link is pinned up there as first tweet. All right. Our next speaker, TFR, please tell us some of the things you liked about Eyimofe.
So I love this movie. It's in my Nollywood Hall of Fame. I love this movie. Like I really, really, really enjoyed it. So first things first, I think this film is very, for lack of a better word, I would say this film is very intimate. It just feels so intimate, like it wants to reach out and hug you. Like it just feels so intimate, and the dialogue is very simple to understand. They are using Nigerianisms, but they are not forcing it. There are certain films that they'll try and force one slang inside, and years later you're watching the film and you're like, "Che, this didn't age well because nobody says this anymore." But they inserted Nigerianisms that have been used for decades, like, and it fits with the speech. Like, it just felt very like what the regular Nigerians would say, or like when they were, like when Mofe and Wisdom were working on the electricity thing, and he said, "Oh, it shocked you." That thing of Nigeria when you ask a question and they just like they answer you back in secondary school. We used to call it troopers, and they answer you like sarcastically and everything. That was such a good. That was a nice thing. I giggled a bit. Um, Even just talking about, oh, this one or is your case, or just certain Nigerianisms that I don't think would ever grow old or would get stale. They inserted it in the dialogue. Then of course everyone has spoken about the cinematography and the shots, and I'm just going to go through some of my favorite shots that I felt like, oh my god, like this was like a painting. There was a scene where Rosa and Grace were at the pharmacy, I think, and just the way that they were, like the blocking of like how they were blocked and like where they were standing and everything, it just felt so good. Then when there was like a shot of Lagos with water, I think there was plenty water and cars passing. That was so good. Then of course, seeing Rosa through the beaded curtains. It's been a while I've seen those beaded curtains. When you're growing up, when you want to make your hair, those were the saloons that always slap, the ones with the beaded curtains and stuff like that. So it's like every when they say every shot felt like a painting, or when she was with the white guy, I don't even know his name, and she got a phone call in that they were in some room or so, and just how the camera followed her when she took the call and when she came back, it was just beautiful. Like I can't even imagine the amount of work that must have gone into like pre-production and making the short list and all of that. Like I was just like, wow, these guys actually did work during pre-production. Like I can only imagine the amount of effort they put in, like in pre-production, and like as other speakers have said, because it was even shot on film, like that even made it harder. So I can just imagine the amount of work. Then of course the performances. I loved everyone's performance. I really like even the people that were supposed to be annoying where they acted annoying well. Like Alex Hunter. I don't know sorry, Alex Hunter is his name in FIFA. I don't know his real name, but that was his name in FIFA. The guy that was friends with the white guy that was supposed to be annoying. So like, he was annoying, and he acted it well. Even like the minor characters, Wisdom was good as well. And one thing this film also did, I love how they portrayed friendship. Like friendship was a major theme. Like we see how Mofe and Wisdom, like they were apprentice and teacher, but they had a friendship. Grace had her own best friend. Her and her sister, they were very close. they just had like we just had those themes of friendship, and it was just so beautiful to see. Like I really, really liked that. Then of course, like um then sorry, I forgot what I wanted to say. Yes, okay, the sound design too was very good. Like the ambient sound, there was no echo, there was no like the sound design, the editing technically, I would go ahead and say that this is the best technically I've seen in a Nigerian film. I don't think I've seen a better technical aspect. I don't think I've seen a better Nigerian film. Sound design, check. Editing, check. Everything was production design, like everyone has said, because most times when we talk about production design, we only remember the epics. Oh, set in the 1950s or set in the we don't like contemporary production design. We don't really like allow this much, but this one was beautiful. I can still remember like Rosa's walls. Like I can still remember that, like, and just some memorable sayings. I can still remember when the mortuary guy gave that whole speech of, the way we live this world is very important and all of that. Like, and I also like that this film did not need to spell out certain things to us. Like it was a really a show, not tell kind of thing. For example, they didn't need to tell us, okay, this is a burial. Or we just saw them. They're wearing their robo attire, and they were serving food. We know that, okay, this is the burial scene. They didn't need to spell it out to us and say we are gathered here today, right by the graveside, Kiniko, all of that. Like we sure knew that, okay, this was the burial because we saw them dressed, we saw them serving the food, and just certain things, like they respected the intelligence of the Nigerian audience. And that is something that I feel like really made sense to me, because very many times I feel like filmmakers don't even rate the audience, and that's not how to go about filmmaking. I also think, okay, so I also really liked Bimbo Manuel and Sadiq Daba. Like people have said, I've seen these people act other things. I've seen Bimbo Manuel act a typical Yoruba man, and I'm seeing him change his speech and his diction. Even the way he's pronouncing words. Because I grew up in Warri, and a lot of Nollywood Warri stereotypes is very, oh, area, Warri, oh, this thing, break bottle, all of that. But they don't even get certain pronunciations of certain words right, and in the with the accent and all of that. And I could tell that Bimbo Manuel changed certain ways in how he would speak, like how he would say thank you, even him say, oh, Migwa Vrendo, even the way they would pronounce certain things. And I think, like, for someone that I have seen him act a typical like Yoruba person, like he really tried, like, in pronunciation of certain words. And I also think the auntie, sorry, I don't even know if she's the auntie, but the one that was with Blessing, the one that was with Blessing, she also really acted very well. And her role, I don't know, it just felt very natural. Even when she came, the first thing she did was trying to appease him with food. She made Eba and Kini and all of that, trying to appease him with food. Like, it just felt very natural. Like, I was like, okay, yeah, she definitely wants something. It just felt like just very, I would say slice of life, but it just felt like her character just felt like somebody I knew. Like, it just felt very real. That sort of thing. Even when, I'm sorry, just to say, this is by the way, but it just made me giggle a bit. So how when they were saying something about, oh, they found out that the father had a child when for during somebody's burial or something like that. And that was hilarious to me, because people talk about, this is just a personal joke, but people talk about, how we always see the Yoruba demon in Nollywood films. It's time we see the South man, because if you sorry, like, there's this kind of like funny like joke and everything, that you never really know like how many children a South man has until like a big family gathering, like maybe his burial or something, and you just be finding different children. All of So I mean, I caught that and I was like, okay, this is funny. This, like, I caught that. I was like, this man is really like a son of the soil, just jokes kind of thing. And yeah, it just felt really. Even Chigo, I even liked her performance. It wasn't too over the top because I think certain times they always cast her to be so over the top, even though she was probably the loudest character. It wasn't that, loud. And the fact that they also, how will I say it, that baby that was living with her, that was symbolic in the sense that somebody had probably dropped their own baby to be able to go abroad. Like that's what that showed to me. I was like, okay, somebody has probably dropped their own baby to go abroad, and that's why she was looking for like. So that's kind of like this is not her first time of doing this baby for abroad exchange, that sort of thing. um I was like, okay, I see. That's the thing I'm saying. Like they align the audience, put two and two together. They don't have to tell us that, hey, or they didn't have to insert it in dialogue and say, oh wow, sister, do you think that is why there's a girl there? No, like we could see that for ourselves. We could put two and two together because the audience is actually educated. We are actually smart. So honestly, that was my favorite thing about this film. Like it was just felt very intimate. It engaged you, and it was just beautiful. And it's beautiful to look at. It's well written. It is a great film. It is a great, and it is in my personal Nollywood Hall of Fame, and it is the best Nollywood film technically, as in technical aspects, in my opinion. Thank you very much. Those are my likes.
Thank you,
Thank you.
TFR. I want to build on that burial scene, and I've been trying to word what I want to say in my head, and I haven't put it together properly, so take it anyhow we see it. But the way that burial scene was presented, I think you pointed out that they respected the audience. But besides that, it felt like it was written for me or for Nigerians, right? And just put out there. Because I've been having this complaint for writers more often, actually, for prose novels and stuff. I feel like there's a lot of explanation that they're explaining for Oyibo, right? Because they want an international audience, but they don't feel confident in the Nigerian or African content enough to just put it out there without explaining it for the non-Nigerian and non-Western understanding. Meanwhile, when we read their work and their books and they watch their films, nobody's explaining anything to us, right? Figure it out. So when they presented the burial scene like that, as Nigerians, we got it. You get, because it was put out there. Like if they had started explaining this scene, I would like, okay, now the right time for Igbo. And like it's just that feeling of, yeah, okay, this is a film made for me, right?
Yeah, and I have to say, like it's, like Shagun's tweet here says they respected the intelligence of the Nigerian audience, which is a TFR quote, and it's interesting because I love that they did it, and I don't know why or what gave them the balls to, because like it's like, well, no one else is doing it. I mean, like, okay, let me not say no one else, but very few people are doing it, and like this does it to such a high degree. I'm gonna get to some of my likes when it does it to such a high degree. Like there are so many things when you watch this a second time, or if you watch this a second time or a third time, I guarantee you will see things you did not see before, because like the film doesn't go, hey, I'm about to do this thing, or open your eye, or film really takes this like takes this almost like a bird's eye view, and hey, like look at all these things, pick on whatever your eye falls on, cool, notice it. But yes,
just sorry, me again. So sorry, but just a side note about this burial thing again, because God. I'm just remembering. I'm just remembering other films that I've seen recently that have done funerals, right? Nigerian films, and what we have is where by the graveside, everybody's wearing black and everybody's crying. That's now our own destination of showing a funeral, and I'm not saying there are not funerals that happen like that in Nigeria. But this just seems so much more authentic.
Well, yeah, that's because like a lot of times, sometimes people aren't necessarily doing anything wrong in their filmmaking, but they're just repeating things that other people have done. It's like, no, well done. I like that you've done a drone shot to show us Lekki Bridge, so we know in Lagos. Well done. There's nothing wrong with that. But maybe try some other kind of establishing shot. Maybe start with an electric box that is messed up. Let us get. Let's understand where we are in this particular scene. Like this rush to go, hey, by the way, we're in Lake. I'm talking about the drone shot now, but like That's all the drone shot does of Lagos. Hey, by the way, we're in Lagos, right? That's what it's telling you. It's is there a real need to know this at this point right now? Right? Do we need to know that right now? Is a question. Anyway, let me not get too far ahead. Yes, we're moving on. Thank you for coming to Nollywood Film Club if you're here. All right. We're going to move on to Cynthia. Cynthia, please go ahead.
I have to shout. Anyway, let me start with a shade to myself. At first, when I was watching this movie, I thought my screen was broken. And that's because they shot on film camera. I'm sorry. I just thought my screen was broken, but that's my shade. Then now to my likes. So I guess like everyone have said, sorry, I've not been listening. So if I repeat your like, forgive me. There's something about using real location that makes it real, and it's also like help the character. Like, I mean, I would expect that none of us was surprised when Mofe didn't know what WhatsApp was. You saw his house, you saw his workplace, you could imagine. Then another thing I did with the location was it was done so well that his house in Lagos, that television stand and the antenna, when he went back to his village, Delta State, we saw him entering the vehicle. But we didn't see him coming back, but we just saw him in that location, okay? And we know that this guy is in Lagos, okay? That's because they did so well with building the location. Then let's go to characters. This movie was good with child actors. See, children were acting like children. You saw Mofet's sister children running up and down, causing destruction, destroying our TV, even though they did not show us. In the dinner, they were doing cho 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 cho, talking when adults were talking. Like children were acting like children. They didn't need to force them to come and give us one smart line. They were just being children, okay? Now, Mofet's father, I'm so sure most people have said this thing. When it got to Delta State and I saw him sit down, his poise, I just know that this man will be a very wicked man. I just know that this man will not care about his children, okay? Just the way he sat down, it just gave me the character. I just knew what this character is going to be like. Another thing that I did with him was his costume. Now, and that was when I was like, oh, who produced this movie? Well, I guess there are Robo people. In the village, a tied wrapper. If you have been to any Robo man house, unexpectedly or expectedly, the usual costume they do is to tie wrapper and wear a shirt. So it was just being real, sitting down with his wrapper and a shirt. And also, most of the costume in this movie felt very real. Is either they're tying wrapper or they're wearing a regular Ankara top and blouse. So like you could relate that this is real Nigeria. No need of fancy clothes when we don't need fancy clothes. Another thing is Bimbo Manuel. When he came in and I saw that hat, I was like, this is a correct Uruboman character. They built. You see that hat? That is like a character on his own. Okay, and when he said the Mingro, and I think he said something about Binori or something, his accent and everything was just too good as an Urubo man. And if you also go back to the burial scene, you could see them wearing that hat, even when the grandpa went to the coffin. So they did very good with the costume. And maybe it's because they are Urubos, but they did very good with the costume. Then another thing I noticed was even in the village, I also felt like most of the bulk of the pidgin was spoken when they were in Delta State location. Okay, so for some reason they made sure that I mean in a common South house you hear a lot of pidgin, and they made sure that a lot of the pidgin we heard was when this man went back to his home in Delta State. Then another thing about the character, which is not a big deal, but because Nollywood is casting people that are older than me, or they look older than me, and they want to claim that they are teenagers, was when I saw Grace. I saw her face, and I was like, this girl is 20 plus. But she looked 15 in this movie. Why? Because they were intentional. They did not allow her wear a wig. They did not allow her wear a makeup. They made her braid her hair, whether it's patewa or clap, she did. But the Sha was intentional in making us believe that that character was a teenager. Okay? Another thing they did for me was Kemilala. So I know a lot of people feels she's a very, very fantastic actress. But in The Smart Money Woman, it was very, very hard watching her. And for some reason, in this movie, her character was so bearable that I feel like I should applaud them for bringing that in her for me. And also, Chigo character. Like, I'm used to seeing Chigo in comedic roles, and in this movie, Chigo had a non-comedy role, and she even spoke one sentence in Italian. I mean, I think they deserve an accolade for those two people in particular. Then, this movie also did something with, I don't know if I should call it suspense or tying the story that I liked. When the generator incident happened, we saw Mofe and he was carrying we only saw him carrying his sister in the keke. I mean, I'm like, where are the boys? Where are the boys? Like, that was what was going through my head. Then we saw a prayer scene. And if you notice, the first time they showed us the coffin, it was only one coffin we saw. And because they have shown a prayer scene, I've already gotten hope. I've already gotten hope. But later we saw like the three coffins. So they did well with like, is it probably keeping me in suspense? I don't know if people were in suspense, but did well in keeping me with suspense and also tying the knot of the story. Same thing with Grace. She was just acting unruly. And I was like, what's doing this girl? Then the next thing, I'm seeing a baby bump, and I'm like, okay, okay, okay. Then another thing they also did is doing things and making us not ask questions. Like a lot of Nollywood producers or writers, they will write things without dropping clue or without giving us background. And when we ask questions, they'll tell us to think. Abba. But this movie, if you notice, I'm so sure that you will not ask what happened to the white guy. Why? Because there were clue and there were background. We saw when his friends were profiling the babe and they were bringing up, this one was so asked for Ashley, and this one was so asked for this. Did she ask you to buy smartphone? We saw how the white man behaved when they got to the smartphone question. When they got to the room and they were discussing, and she answered the phone with not the smartphone he bought, and the look and everything. And the next thing, she's asking this man for rent because they have shown us how they are profiling this babe, why his friends are profiling this babe. We didn't see the character again, okay? And they don't need to tell us, but we already know that this character has gone, okay, because of that gist with his friend. Then another thing they did were relatable dialogues and scenes. The almost all the topic on the radio broadcast was interesting for me. They were interesting. There are things that you hear on a radio in Nigeria. Okay, when the television spoil, you see how the auntie is blaming it on the kids. It might not even be the children that did the thing, but like me, these are things you expect or you see in a Nigerian home. Then the prayer scene at the hospital. So this is very common. Oh, I saw it a lot when I did my IT in the hospital, especially when the patient is dead or is about dying. That miraculous leap of faith or something or hope to happen. So that prayer scene at the hospital, okay. Then we saw wisdom. When I saw wisdom, fine boy with data. I knew that this guy will enjoy himself. I think this guy will enjoy himself, and yes, he enjoyed himself. Okay. Then also, the drive from Lagos to Delta State. You see the change in, like, you can see a lot of village houses. You can see a lot of tree. In fact, I'm sorry to say that whole thing where you drove from Lagos to Delta State is better than Sule movie that they were doing on Interlock. Is way, way, way better. Then the white guy discussing his custom experience. These are things that happen with custom Nigeria. Okay, so those dialogue, I'm like, okay, this is real. Then we also had I think I've even forgotten what was. Anyway, we also had the aggressive or sarcastic tone that Nigerians always have or Nigerians have, which is something that people we hear and say, these people are rude. I think TFA mentioned it. Like when Wisdom was like, it shocked you. I'm first like, no, I did dance. That's the Nigerian way of speaking, okay? And even here, when people ask me some question, even though I don't say it out, it plays in my head because I don't want to sound rude. So we have that sarcastic tone. And it also happened when Chimezie character came and it was like, after taking picture with Grace and his friend, and it was like, you save him. And Grace's friend was like, no, I throw away him. So they brought in this sarcastic tone that Nigerians have. So they sounded very, very, very Nigerian. And the coffin dialogue. I forgot. When the man was advertising his coffin, I was telling them to buy so that the way you live the earth, that's very Nigerian. That's the way a coffin businessman is going to behave. Okay. So I'm not a technical person, but for some reason, I actually like the camera movements. Like you could see that they're talking about someone, the camera is facing the person, then they talk about another person, the camera moves swiftly to the other person. And I think my favorite camera movement was in the bus station where the auntie had come back for to ask for money, and it went to the bus station to like say farewell to the auntie and her son blessing. And then the camera just moved and we're now watching everything from the window. And I was like, I don't know. I just like the camera movement in this movie. Then finally, let's talk about food. This movie did very well with food representation. And even though I did not say the name of the food they were eating, okay, this is better than what a lot of people have given me. Better than what Anikolapo gave me. Better than what Eleshi. Jesus Christ. Eleshi was giving me flashes and flashes and flashes. It was too fake. Okay, so this movie did way better in food representation. Okay, and they didn't have to wait for a big celebration, although we saw a burial scene, but it was like an everyday thing we do. Okay, so the dinner with the kids, the dinner with his sister and the kids, the regular eating in Lagos at night. What Grace and her friend eating when the sister came back, her preparing dinner. So it was just like a regular part of life, how we do eat food. It was just put there and it was perfect. Okay. And even when they did not show food, I'm so sure I had a scene when he was talking to Wisdom and it was like, you go chop. So they just had it there and it was very natural. And another thing they did was it's very Nigerian to offer drink when a visitor comes. Okay. So I don't think Martina or Coke sponsored this movie. I mean, it didn't feel like they cared about the commercial thing. They cared more about the audience. So when Mofe went back to the village and they offered him Martina, okay, free advert. But that's a very Nigerian thing to do. I'm telling you because, yeah, anytime I visit anybody, they're just looking at me and I'm looking at them. They don't used to offer me anything. That's a very Nigerian thing to do. When Grace and Rosa went to meet Chigo, and she was like, we people take Coke or Fanta. That's a very Nigerian thing to do. Okay, so they did free advert for those drinks because, well, they were probably not thinking commercial or anything, but they were thinking Nigeria and they were able to like put it there. Okay, so for those of you that used to collect money for a trophy beer, and you people used to put it on billboard, one cartoonish billboard, and be zooming in and zooming out in of trophy label bottle name. This is an expo for you people. This is an expo for you people to use. It's a very Nigerian thing to offer people drink when they visit you. Okay, stop drinking trophy start on wine glass or in the name of trophy is sponsoring your movie. I am tired. Okay, I am very very tired. And if you do not like, or if you don't want to do free adverts because a drink do not sponsor you, there's nothing with buying Zobo for people to drink. Zobo is also a very Nigerian thing. And anyways, in conclusion, I feel that this movie was very Nigerian, and I mean, that's something that's going to always stand out. People will watch this movie and they are seeing something different, and that different is Nigeria. In the way they speak, in the way in the clothes they wore, in how they move, and everything. I didn't see any Hollywood trope. I didn't see any Bollywood rain CGI. I did not see just Nigerian, and the movie is going to stand out among a lot of movie Nollywood producers because this is very Nigerian. Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you, Cynthia.
Thanks, Cynthia. Oh, wow. Yes, very well said from the professor. Mrs. Liz, your turn. Do you want to?
Oh, is it my
I
turn?
think it's your turn. Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. No, sorry. Cynthia just reminded me of a kid, and we'd go visit somebody, and they'd offer malt to the adults, and then offer the kids mineral, Coke and Fanta.
Right.
So that was always fun. Okay, so I've seen Eyimofe 2.5 times. And it gets better with every watch. That's my first good, is that it gets better with every watch, which is not very common. Second thing I noticed is there are a lot of things that people have pointed out that I absolutely loved. I'm going to reiterate something Vanessa said about it being mostly non-judgmental. It just shows you these people's lives. And there are a lot of things that were in here that could be a big deal, or you could put an opinion on it, but they don't. And the one that stands out to me the most is Grace's pregnancy. There is no emphasis on why she's pregnant. There is no ado about this teenager being pregnant. In fact, when we find out Grace is pregnant, which is links to the death scene as well, these big reveals are being done so casually. Because that's just life, right? This is just life. This is casual. Nobody's telling you, oh my God, this is a big moment. So when we first meet Grace, Mr. is asking her, have you taken your medication? Have you taken your drugs? Have you taken your passport? She's on the bed going through socials with her best friend, putting on a fake accent, just being a normal kid, right? So when you find out that this girl is pregnant, it's like, whoa. And then we find out in the hospital, and they're just like, oh, the, fetal what is low. Have you been taking your medication? And that's when you realize that the meds that her sister is asking that she has taken is her meds, like, for being pregnant. And it's just there, casually. No one says why she's pregnant, right? And it reminds me of some other films, like, I don't want to name, but like a film, which film was it? Where This Lady Called Life. Right? When she has this whole thing with her mom because of a pregnancy, her teen pregnancy, and then her mom finally empathizes with her because she tells her she was raped. Pissed me off because I'm like, who cares? Why are you being a cunt to her and you were not going to stop if she hadn't told you she was raped? Bullshit, right? We don't know why this teen is pregnant. This teen is in Pina 4, right? And if you're in Pina 4, you're in junior secondary school, right? You don't wear skirt till SS1. So this is a young teen. She's pregnant. And there's such a casualness to it. Nobody's emphasizing why she's pregnant. Nobody's giving you a reason not to judge her for being pregnant. She's just she's just a kid, right? And that carries on throughout so much of the film. We're just seeing things, right? Which is why when the white guy's friends start, talking about these things, it really rubs you the wrong way. Because so far we've just seen these people just existing, right? It's like this. I don't know if anybody has ever heard this. And of course, marry for love, but go where there are rich people to fall in love, right? It's like Rosa's just trying to survive, right? Of course, she asks him for stuff, right? Of course, she follows up with the white boy when he's giving her eyes and not really making any concrete moves. Of course, she's prioritizing this guy over landlord. This is a better life for her and her sister. We see that. It makes sense. There's no judgment to it. But like also, of course, when the white guy has been told a bunch of things by his friends, he starts thinking, and then he sees the signs, he sees that the phone is gone. He doesn't know her life, right? We're the ones watching her life. He doesn't know this. It makes sense that he also dips because they've told him this, the signs are showing. So like it was so just beautifully just showed things instead of telling us this is how you can feel. Then the characterizations I thought were great. Like Rosa's characterization, Grace's characterization, Grace was a child. It didn't matter that she was pregnant. She was a child and she acted like a child, right? She acted like a teenager. Her sister, it was just obvious. She cared for her. She loved her and it influenced a lot of the decisions she made, right? In trying to look after her sister. She's a hairdresser. She comes home. She's checking in on her. She's asking her how she's doing. She's trying to work out Italy, right? Trying to figure that out, trying to date. And in the end, decides to go with landlord because she doesn't say it, right? Nobody's having this conversation that this life that I want to go to Italy and put my sister in is not the best thing. She doesn't say it, but you see her make that decision, right? You see her make that decision to put her and her sister's welfare, like, in this situation. She's choosing the lesser evil for them. It's not a situation she's very happy with, but she goes in and she negotiates it, right? Because that is who she is. She's trying to look after them. Mofe's characterization, I thought his characterization was fantastic. He was a fixer. He was fixing stuff throughout, right? So even like his sister and her kids, you can see the affection, right? Nobody says, I love you. Right? Nobody's saying, I love you so much. Oh my God, you people are my world. What will I do without you? He's walking home, he goes behind Wisdom and he hits him on the head, right? Rubs his head a little bit, leaves him where he is, and goes home. And then we see him working with the other kid, right? No, sorry, not Wisdom. Is it Goddy that's his name? We see him working with the other kid, right? They're fixing the generator together. You see that there's a bond there. Sister comes home, kid runs, like there is a bond with all of them. Her excitement when he shows her the passport, right? Like, I'm going to send this to you tomorrow. Then them having that comfort when they're chilling in the evening and having that conversation. You can see the camaraderie. You can see that they're close, right? You see it. It's there. It's his consistency in fixing stuff. We open with him fixing something, right? He's at home. He's fixing the gen. He tells the boy to bring his broken pad over. Let him fix it for him. And it carries on throughout. When she dies, we don't see him break down. We see, and my first time watching, I was like, oh, no sound effects, nothing. It's a big moment. They're not giving me anything, right? It took a while for me to be like, okay, oh, that's the point, right? But then we see him, he calls out to them. And then next thing we see him with people helping move them out. He's at the hospital. He's asking what next, right? We see his difficulty signing, right? What's the next step? Calls his father, breaks down a little bit, but he's moving on. It's like he's a fixer, he's a doer, he's doing what's next, right? It's until that whole thing with the box again where he loses his shit on that box. But like his characterization was clear. This was a person, and his character was different from the next character. I'm like, okay, oh, these are people. It's not just anyone could do this. So I thought that was really great. I thought the locations were fantastic, right? I think the last film I really praised for location was Kasala. Because I remember we talked about Kasala, about the location being like a character on its own. And the location was absolutely fantastic. All the different locations were just great. Nothing felt out of place. It didn't feel like, why are these people here, right? Like the number of films I've seen going, how does this person afford this place, right? But this just makes sense. The TV makes sense, right? The Sisters season film makes sense. It's just all of it the neighbors make sense. His path home, the road being somehow wonky, crossing over a gutter, all of it made sense. All of it worked, right? The route through from the market, going past the keke, everything worked. Everything made sense. Then I'm going to let Mr. C expand on this, but the sound design was beautiful. And I'm not the person who talks about the technical stuff, right? It's not me. That's not what I'm fussed about. But oh my God, the sound design was absolutely beautiful. I felt every environment I was in. I was watching this for the third time today, and I showed Mr. C something because there was I think it was the factory. I was hearing just like the hum in the background of the machine, right? But it wasn't intruding. It never intrudes. It's just part of the setting. It's not someone telling you, look, oh, I'm doing sound design. Oh. That's why it took me to the third one. She'd be like, oh my God, shit, right? No one's giving me footsteps to show that I did sound design. No, it just exists, right? And I was showing Mr. C something, and the scene passed, right? We go into a different scene where they didn't say anything. But I knew we were somewhere else. I knew we weren't at the factory, right? I knew we weren't at the house. And he was at that little buka place, right? Where, they were serving food, and nobody said anything. But it just sets the scene. I thought that was absolutely fantastic. The family, it was so Nigerian. It felt so Nigerian. I felt like these people could be my neighbors, right? I felt like I've lived close to these people before. There's a particular street I'm remembering, right? It feels like this could have been 2 or 3 of my neighbors. I thought that was absolutely great. It just felt so authentic, so real, so Nigerian. The language, the word choices, everything. It was a really good feeling, man. It was a really, really good feeling watching this film. The word I was also thinking of is intentional. There was so much here that felt intentional, and that was the best part of it. There was no then go take on like that, right? There was no then go take on like that. It was intentional. There was purpose. There was point. Someone thought about this thing and made it happen. And yeah, I'm really glad we have this.
All right. Sounds like Mrs. C likes it. All right. A couple of other speakers have come on since then. All right. Rotimi, I think you were first. Please tell us some things you like about Eyimofe.
Yeah. Hello.
Hi.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes. Go
Okay.
on.
So I missed Eyimofe when it came out in cinemas. I think I don't know. I think like 2 years ago. I don't remember the exact time. So I caught it at the film festival. It was even the Film Arts Film Festival. And immediately after I left, after because I went specifically to that festival to watch Eyimofe, and immediately I left, I was like, this is the most cinematic movie in, like, when I say cinematic, like, this is the most cinematic movie in current, like, Nollywood. When I mean cinematic, that there are a lot of things that we're calling films. They are films, they are stories, but they don't look like films. At best, they look like TV dramas, but you have extended them to have the length of 60 minutes, 90 minutes, and you call them films. And I mean, even things that people are putting on streaming networks as originals, they don't look cinematic. And the very first thing is that, like, you are, so let me just make mention, the one of the brothers is actually here. He's one of the people listening. So I don't know if you check him, if you would like to, like, say something, because he has been here listening to everybody, and I just like, wait, this is one of the brothers. I don't know if it's one of them is here. One of the Esiri brothers is here listening to this space, and I feel that, like, I've stayed away from film club for a while because I felt like I was like a booking record. I was always coming here to complain about films, and I'm like, this is the first time in a long time, like, everybody here can come and discuss about a film and talk about what they like about a film, or what makes a film like, what makes a film like this. Why is this now this is not the norm? This is the exception. This is one of the few exceptions that all of us can come here and talk about, like, this film has so many layers to it. We can speak, this space can last till tomorrow, and we'll still find things we want to say about the film. So this is that another thing about, like, when I said about, like, what makes a film cross to become international, because I think that this is, like, when I look at this film, it's very Nigerian. Like, I think it was Cynthia that made the mention that it doesn't have Hollywood tropes. So the idea we're thinking that we want to make a film international is by having Hollywood tropes as opposed to applying the art of filmmaking. And that's one of the things that, like, because who are the people driving the movie? These people are actually filmmakers. It's the brother, I'm assuming that one of them is the director, one of them is the writer. But these are people that have an understanding of the art of filmmaking. That's what we're talking about. Like, we're talking about good camera work, good casting, good location, good sound design, good costuming, everything. Because the people that care about filmmaking, right now, I can tell you that I can look at some things and I just see who is producing the film, and I'm like, let me not bother myself, because I will just find something that was going to offend me, and I'm not in the mood. I don't have time to be insulting people's films. I want to see good films. This is a good film. This is one of those things that you recommend to people to watch, and say you want to watch a film from Nigeria, you will recommend it to anybody, and you will not, your hand will not shake, because it's well done. But it's paying attention to the details that make films work. So I like, so there are some other things that, like me, that I took away from the story that are just kind of things that, like, there are too many things, but I'm just going to say just a couple, a few. It's kind of ironic, and I think it's also one of the very first tragedies inside the film, is that Mofe is the one that fixes the generator that eventually kills his sister and her children. Because if you remember, he was trying to fix the generator and an issue, he was trying to fix it and everything. And that was the generator they left overnight that the fumes went in and killed them in their sleep. And that's one of those things that's a very, and ironically, again, that's a Nigerianism. I've read that story happen to a couple of people. So it's very authentic. That's the Nigerianism to his core. In his workplace, my friend, his workplace with Lala, which is like Lala, both as casting, she did a great job, both as her acting. And she was also a typical Nigerian boss, in the sense of, Mofe kept telling her, this piece of equipment has an issue, we should replace it. She said, we go, as you said, they go manage them, we will manage them. No, it will work. They have not bought the supplies. Until Now Mofe, like until it causes a problem, Mofe literally breaks it to pieces. And she's like, "Oh, engineer, you have messed up. We're going to get you. We're going to sack you." And I'm like, this is a typical Nigerian situation, because at that time he was frustrated, but he had been trying to tell her this equipment is faulty, change it. She refused. Typical Nigerian no maintenance culture. Another thing that is very typical Nigerian, I'm saying this because it's in our character to have some weird, dumb things. The dad, the dad didn't have money, did not want to put money down for the funeral to pay for the coffin, but yet he wants to claim his daughter's the last. He wants to claim the last of her savings in the bank account. That's a classical British Nigerian type word. It can be a general behavior among human beings, but I'm like, I know this story. I've heard Nigerians that do these kind of things, these weird, messed up things. So I'm like, this story is very authentic. Even the secondary car with the girl with her sister was even. I think there's another weird dynamic between her and her two. Should I say her two sugar daddies? Her Oibo sugar daddy and her landlord sugar daddy. Sorry if I'm using those terms, but it's best description I can give. And it's almost like how Oibo sugar daddy was to level up. Let's step up from this, my landlord. This guy is not really educated. He's not really the guy from. He's not young. He's not handsome. See Oibo. Oibo now eventually now based on what his friends tells him that rings true, he now abandons her and she has to fall back to the landlord. And I was like, is this kind of it was that was just I can't even say any more about that. It was like that dynamic. It's having people that actually know about film make films. And I'm saying this because I'm going to say that the industry, and I'm going to say this about Nollywood industry in general, I don't think the people driving the Nollywood films are actually the filmmaking aspect is not the first concern. The commercial aspect is the first concern. So it is filmmaking as commerce, not filmmaking as art. The moment all of us see filmmaking as art, all of us can appreciate it and like it. The filmmaking that is commerce is more concerned about the numbers, anyhow the numbers come in. So the art can be taken as soon as they go manage them. And I've been in a hall. I just came from a film festival and people, and I was in a hall and it was a film festival and people were laughing at something that was really, it was ridiculous. It was also insulting to a part of Nigerian's traditions, a part of some people's religion, and people were laughing and it was a joke. And I'm like, I don't understand this. You don't understand. We are laughing at the dumbness of it. That's what's entertaining. So it's entertaining because it's so dumb. So somebody's like, oh, dumb entertaining. Okay, I'm going to make more dumb things because now waiting they sell markets because they can't see the value in art. And the association to Nollywood about is about being part of the film industry has a prestige. It comes with a prestige of being whether a director, a producer, or whatever. And I'm not mentioning names here, but I'm like, there's a lot of prestige attached to it, and a lot of people are fighting for that prestige. But very few people understand the art and craft of filmmaking. This is Eyimofe. The people that made Eyimofe understand the art and craft of filmmaking. Is it the most commercial viable product in the market? No, not necessarily. I feel like I can see why this cannot necessarily be the thing you want to do for box office. But that's what I'm always making a distinction. Some things are made for the box office to entertain people and get numbers, and some things are made as art. We don't make that distinction in Nigeria. We're just here concerned about this one will sell the red carpets. Oh, let's what we're going to see on the red carpet for Bella and I'm like, look, none of these films are what somebody said. There was analyzing one movie that came out, one of the big movies that came out. Like, if you put this film under a microscope, it will not stand. And you may feel I can put a microscope here tomorrow and it will stand. It's a great piece of art that represents a Nigerian story. And because I'm like, even there's almost like the lens I'll look at it that the guys that made this thing, I don't consider them. Is a null. Can I call this a Nollywood film? It was made by Nigerians, but will I say this is a Nollywood film? It's a Nigerian story, but I say because these people, the way they made this film does not represent the acts and practices of Nollywood. And that's another thing that's why it's kind of shifted to the side. The noise, all the noise we've been hearing online about different things, oh, this one came and everything, is that kind of noise around the Eyimofe because they kind of find a way to shift these things to the side. There's not much focus on great films like this. They just move it away from the spotlight, which is like if I wanted to spotlight anything about Nigeria, Eyimofe would be the first film I want to highlight that, okay, this is the kind of film we want to show the international community. But it's not. And this is that thing I'm like, at least now everybody is here now. I'm like, oh, this is a good film. You can tell. It's very easy to tell because the things that make a good film, all of us are aware of it. It's ironic that the people that are making films can't seem to figure out that if you cast the right people, you use yes, somebody mentioned that they shot this on film, but you see, there's another thing that like you can shoot on digital, but you can use cinematic compositions and camera movements, and you will enhance it in post production to give it a cinematic feel. What I'm saying is that people that even shooting don't have a sense of what is a cinematic tone, don't have a sense of what tone is comedy, what tone is action, what tone is dramatic. They just mismatch it all together, and you can see. You take one look, oh, this is supposed to be an action scene, but this doesn't look like action. This is supposed to be comedic. It doesn't look comedic. It looks like we're just slapping on clean picture. Correct? Just press the digital camera. It will give me a digital feel. It's good enough. This is not that. Everything here was done intentionally, including the tone. There's something like the style they call naturalistic cinema. This is a naturalistic, very almost that's why somebody said that almost like a documentary that it looks very realistic. The style and approach, but that is intentional. You don't mistakenly choose the kind of camera that will give you that feel. You have to know what you are trying to achieve and how that works for your story. There are a lot of people that you are choosing, what camera you are choosing, what lens you are choosing, what kind of shots you are choosing. All of them affect how your story is going to turn out. But a lot of people don't pay attention to that. They don't care. A film is a film. They put it together. And even, I'm sorry, now I'm going to say this thing down to even the people that are streaming. The people that are streaming or the people picking things to go on streaming, they also don't care. They don't care what kind of things you people put together for them. It is content. All content is content. Very few people care about what type of films are really films. This Eyimofe is a real film. But it's just sorry that this is not the rule. This is truly the exception. I wish there would be more things like this. I hope there will be more things. I wish the Esiri brothers do more films. It's actually ironic that when I'm giving people that pick people to do originals, how nobody has said that, oh, the Esiri, the guys that did the Eyimofe they should handle one Netflix original, one Amazon original. I'm not saying it's a business that I can't speak to what everybody is about. Like, if somebody was going to pick people to shoot films for Nigeria, would they not be one of the first names that's supposed to be on the list? That you said, okay, these guys produce a film and let's see what they will do with Nigerian content. But it's weird because all these things are not really the concerns of film. But Eyimofe is a great film. I recommend it to anybody. It's been a long time. I've stayed away from film club because I'm tired of bashing people's films. I want to come and just how everybody's having a discussion and talking about different things is the best feeling because that's what we all just enjoy Nigerian films. And that's all that needs to happen. I hope we get more films like Eyimofe. If the brothers are interested in more films, please, I'm willing to work for free. Even if I cannot produce, I don't have the big box to support you, but I'm willing to work and produce more films like this because we need this. This is all of us can get behind because somebody said something like they respected the intelligence of the audience. The idea behind most of everybody else is that they are looking at it that majority of people are laymen, so they are looking at these people are dumb, so they produce the content as dumb as they think as they see the audience. This is one of the few films that assumes that the audience is intelligent, yet it's not trying to be bourgeois. It's not trying to show you Lekki. It's not trying to show you the island. It's showing you the poor people, but like you said, it's not poverty porn. They are people, they are characters, natural human people, just normal human people that you are just telling their stories. So yeah, it's been a long time, but thank you for your time. I'm done.
Thanks, Ritimi. I have to say I've missed Ritimi's epic rants. What a yeah, I missed all of that. So many things he said. All right, just letting people know if you do want to say make a comment, like contribute anything, you can always like either comment underneath the space or use the hashtag Nollywood Film Club or request to speak. All right, before we go on to Mel, just a couple of things some people have said. All right, one man Mopo said, anyone else notice how the cutter cut Wisdom in the exact same spot where Mofe had an altar? Yeah, I mean, I was like, one of the things I think I was looking at, I was pointing out to Mrs. C when she was watching for her third time was like, it's just like having that scar in that place, like, is your rite of passage if you're going to do this job. And it was amazing seeing him get his own part. Yes, but thanks for that. One more poke. Chuko Esiri says, fun fact, Jude came up with the line, no, I did dance during rehearsals. Dope. Yeah, so I think Mel, you are uh you're on. Anything what was the things you liked about Eyimofe?
Hi, Mr. C. Hi, everyone. Hi, Rotimi. It's been a minute. Okay. So, a number of it has already been said. So I definitely noted the wound on the engineer's hand and on Mofe's hand and Wisdom's hand as well. I think the thing that I took from that was when they shoot the shots of the side by side, the bandage and then the scar, I was like, I guess Nigeria marks us in the same places. Um, but I think my agenda from that was just that there is no such thing as unskilled labor. All labor is skilled, especially the least paying ones. Um, Elizabeth has already talked about the scene at the was it a restaurant or a bar where Nepa takes light and the guy sort of hesitates in continuing his story. Um, I think we've all been there where there's like a distraction in the story that you've set up really nicely and you have to make that split-second decision whether or not to forge ahead or to just give up because you've lost the audience. I really liked that. I just really liked that. I also really liked the naturalistic coloring. Elizabeth has already talked about this at length. I think I especially noticed it because I think that I have been feeling overwhelmed by the shiny blues and the shiny reds that I feel like I've been subjected to in some of the most recent Nollywood films. So it was a change of pace. I enjoyed it. I also thought that it helped sell the locale nicely. Um, anyway, I also thought that it was an interesting way of when I think of Eyimofe, I think of just this idea of holding a mirror to society. And I thought that just settling for a more naturalistic coloring really sold that. I enjoyed the music. I enjoyed the contemplative silences. I enjoyed the choice of tracks when they did come on. Um, I enjoyed all of that. I also enjoyed the use of representation. I thought that um there was an intentionality to it. For instance, I think about the hijabi girl who is Grace's friend, and I think that in my experience, almost every time that a hijabi girl has shown up on TV, this someone somewhere is always trying to make a big point about her ethnicity or her religion or her piousness or her conservatism. There's always a big point being made. It was just so refreshing to see this girl in a full-on hijab from from a household where the women were full on hijabs and she's just been a child. She's just existing. It was very refreshing to see that. Just her having friends and just doing things. It was nice. Something that I also liked, it's both in my likes and my dislikes, is just how community shows up. It's in my likes because we see it with this friend, the hijabi girl and her mother. We see it in how they take grace, and we all know just how very Nigerian we can be about things like an out of wedlock pregnancy. But there's no judgment from them. The love is just continues on. We see it in the way that the landlord shows support for Mofe when he has experienced his loss. So I just really enjoyed just the idea. Community is such a central part to the Nigerian experience. I liked how it showed up. I liked that it showed up at all, honestly. Um, some of my bigger likes would be just the juxtaposition between Grace and Chi Girl's daughter. Um, because we see that Grace is burdened with the every time we see Chi Girl's character's daughter. She Girl's character's daughter. Every time we see Chi Girl's character's daughter, we see that she's having just such a blast. She's being the child that she is. Um, that Grace.
Is Mel breaking for anybody else?
Yeah,
Mel?
she's ready for me.
Okay. Mel, we are losing or have lost you.
G-Girl's character.
Hang on. All right, I'm just gonna. All right, Mel. You can try coming back on. Meanwhile, I will say some. Let me just see whether bringing you on back on and off again will help. Meanwhile, Chuko is dropping some fun facts on the thing. I might not post all of them, but you feel free to go read all of them. Mofe and he has one. Mofe and Rosa's apartments were entirely production design. The art team traded new items for old with some of the residents in the area. Nice. So there we go. I think that's addresses something that Cynthia said, which raised an alarm for me. I was like, maybe I should say something, but it's not everything. I thought it's possible. I think it was like, Cynthia, you might be right. Maybe it was like they found the perfect, but like something tells me that was a lot of production design. But all right, let's see, Mel. Let's try again. Let's see if you're back and if we can hear you.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not sure where I left off, but I'll just continue. I'm sorry, and I hope that it doesn't turn off again. Can you hear me?
The difference between Girl and Rosa's sister. That's where you left off.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, anyway, I think my overarching point was that just childlikeness was not a thing that Grace's class afforded her. And I thought that the turning, I guess the drive, the thing that drove home that point is when she sells her phone for money. That's not a thing that G-Girl's character's daughter is ever going to have to think about. Anyway, my final point would be that Faida said that there was a sense of grief in the film. I'm not disputing that. I'm just saying that I just think that it was a little more than just grief. I think that the word that I have for it is that it felt like there was a sense of hope. Just of this idea of resilience, of the sense that if I falter, I will fall. It's why he and I think that Elizabeth drove home this point. It's why we see Mofe just picking up and continuing. Something bad happens, you've lost. That's such a heavy loss, isn't it? But he doesn't have the time to dwell in it for too long. He has to. If he falters, he will fall. He has to just keep going. Just that taking it one day at a time, such a Nigerian thing. We are all just navigating this one day at a time. Elizabeth said he felt like he was desensitized to death. I think desensitized just in general is a good word to use in connection with Eyimofe, because I think that God, I felt so overwhelmed, so burnt out, so desensitized to just whatever the situation in the country is, and just hoping that I can wait through the next day and then the day after and then the day after. So I just really like how that felt pretty reflective, just that sense of for instance, this can be viewed as a story of migration, right? But it's not just migration that happens. It's the lesser told story. It's a story of people who never make it out, no matter how much they might want to. I have another agenda with this, where I think, in this sense, I don't think that the movie by itself is neutral as we've allowed it to be. I think, for instance, that it takes a stance on moving. I think that by acknowledging the problem, and by showing us resilience, it's also like trying to remind us of who we are as Nigerians. We're resilient people, and maybe that would be our salvation. Just this resilience, this forging ahead even when things are difficult, even when escape is difficult. um anyway, so I thought that just that it's what it embodied really well was just the sense of hope that we're going to we're going to survive. It's such we're settling. Mercy, I think Reese's sister, she's settling for Mr. Vincent. Mofe is settling for a little shed where he can do his electronic repairs rather than a life abroad. We're settling. Which is why I think that the way that he ends, the way that the movie ends, the way that we say goodbye to Mofe and to that world, before Mofe steps out of his shed, he's like, "Oh, we thank God." That's such a Nigerian thing. We're settling, and what's the most that we can say? At least it's not worse, maybe. We thank God. So anyway, so I thought that the overarching sense in it was just a sense of hope, just a sense of resilience, and we're just going to keep pushing in the hopes that things are going to feel better, look better, be better, maybe. And even if they are not, we thank God. So those were my likes.
Wow. Yeah. Thanks, Mel. I mean, you've touched on one of the key things I was going to say, but I'll just quickly do mine. I think it's quick. I think it's going to be quick. All right. So, I think anybody has been following us for like the last year and a bit know that this is what I think is by far the greatest movie that has come out of Nigeria. Not even close. And a lot of people, I guess, Mr. Sinclair, are expecting me to talk about the technical stuff. And let me just tell you, obviously, what you want to hear. Yeah, the technical stuff is great. Yes, it is. But that's not why this movie is what I feel at this point for me is a 10 out of 10 for me, right? And I know why I'm saying for me, not just because obviously film is subjective to people and blah 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 and all of that. So the reason why this whole adventure Roku Critic is on, why we started reviewing movies, why we started doing this film club thing. The whole part of this was like the search for like good, or the search for talking about Nigerian from a certain perspective. Like there were people who were doing reviews, but like I felt like there was a voice missing. It's like when we were praising some of the things that admittedly were doing well, and I have actually no shade to our commercial stuff. Do you get your bag and all of that? But I just wanted something also for me too. That's all it is. It's like, I'm happy all of the commercial stuff are getting all the love, and I expect it to. It's like that everywhere, right? But there was nothing it felt like there was nothing for me, and it felt like there was nothing coming from a certain voice, and that's why, this whole thing started. So one of the things I can tell you about that this film certainly has received a bunch of accolades from, like, globally. Like, if you're not paying attention to some of the way it's received, like, there are loads of accolades this film has gotten from people that I wouldn't have dreamt a film made, produced, funded by Nigerians, acted, all of that by Nigerians would get to. Criterion, HBO, BAFTA. I think BAFTA. The producer got a BAFTA recognition. I can't remember what it was, but like, it's certainly getting it. My mind was blown when I looked at Roger Ebert's the criticism thing, 3.5 out of 4. So like, when I tell you like a 10 out of 10, like, you don't have to take even my word for it in terms of how special this movie is. I think it's nice to see globally it being recognized and like praised to such a high degree, but from my perspective, like, those guys can't even have like the experience. Those people who are in the West and all of this reviewing it, because like I said, technically this film is great. They don't have, though, our perspective as Nigerians. And I can't believe that, I think this was 2021 when we saw it. So I was going to say in the year 2022, but I couldn't believe that I was seeing a movie of this quality made for made for somebody with Nigerians. Like it's such an emotion, such an emotional, it was such an emotional feeling for me. It was almost like, like a great whoever you think is a great director came to Nigeria and was like, all right, I'm gonna make a film for you guys. Like, and it was nice to see that. Now, all right. So for me, what's the greatest thing about this movie? Again, it's not the technical stuff. It's great. The thing for me is like this movie, and as much as I want to do what Rotimi kind of once in a while does, like, is it even really Nollywood? Because it's just so good. It's like we don't it's because our standards are usually of a certain level. So it doesn't even feel Nollywood because it feels too good, but there's how Nigerian this movie is. I don't know how I can do that. I feel like this movie, more than anything I've ever seen, captured the spirit of the spirit of Nigeria. And this is almost what Country Heart tried to do, where the villain of this movie, if it has a villain, is Nigeria. Right? Like in all these little things, the anyhowness is our lack of systems, right? Mofe gets, like, he's working in really shitty conditions. You know, even like him getting fired, it's not even his fault. Like it's not entirely his fault. Certainly, like he was warning his madam about all the shortcuts they are doing and all the things that was going to happen to them. That, and then you have the Reza as well. Like these two people, right? And one is a guy, one is a girl, and these are very masculine Nigerian story. One is a masculine Nigerian story, and one is sort of like more closer to the feminine type story. But like you follow these people on what's like. Let me put a good person, right? Because I believe these two people are like kind of good at heart. They're Mofe is a dude who has a good heart. Is hardworking, and Nigeria. He's planning a way to escape Nigeria, the villain of this movie, and Nigeria goes, no, not so fast. I still have plenty of obstacles for you to go through, right? Like Mofe's generator spoils, and the problem, as we later find, by the way, is bad fuel. There's nobody to sue for that, right?
Yeah.
You can't do any. It's happened. Like Mofe fixed a generator. I think it was doing something good, of course, because that's what he does. He fixes stuff, and I don't know whether he would have been blaming himself through all of that. But like later we find out, like, oh, it's bad fuel now. Like, and what can you do about that? And one of the things why this movie gets to me more than almost anything else, and this is why this movie is a 10 for me, aside that technically, again, it's very good, is that there's a way I relate to Mofe that I don't, number one, imagine or expect anybody else to. He's this guy who just wants to, all right, so this bad thing has happened. All right, so how do you fix it? Like, the first time they tell him about his sisters and children's bodies, about like picking it up, it's like discharge fee. Cost a crazy amount for discharge fee, like for these guys. Like, and if you don't pick it up today, every day you keep it increased. Like that's the system of Nigeria, right? Like that's our bad guy of the film. But like Mofe has this thing of, oh, bad thing happens, I just need to get past it. And that's something that sometimes I feel like that is a very me thing to do. All right, okay, let's be cold and analyze all of these things. And oh, this bad thing happened. All right, so what's the next logical step to do? Like the guy he was with is like complaining on his behalf. And he's like, no, okay, yeah, okay, I hear you. Okay, what do I need to do to fix it? It's like the bad thing has happened. there's one moment where Mofe allows himself almost a second to like even break down about like cry wise, to like shed tears over all of this, and is when he speaks, calls his father that clearly they're estranged, they haven't spoken in a while, they haven't, he hasn't seen his kids in a long time. After that call, Mofe has this moment where he starts sobbing, and then he almost like reprimands himself for having that moment. Like, come on, like that's not what we do over here. We just fix things and we move on. And that, to me, not the crying, not that he broke down at that moment. It's that he wouldn't allow himself the moment to like literally break down, like over something so severe. Nothing as severe as that has happened to me, but like I felt that somewhere so deep inside of me that yeah, it's difficult to explain that to someone, and that's something you don't. That's something that's just very difficult to sometimes put translate sometimes from a page to screen and make all of that work. So I can speak about this movie for ages. It has so many moments like this, but like I don't want to keep you guys here for 1,000 years. I can do it. Believe me, I can do it. Everybody knows how much I love this one, but that's why this film for me like is my 10 out of 10. And I don't see this as this is not for a Nollywood movie. No, I'm putting it up there with the rest of the other movies that I like. It is a movie like, for me, like, you know, the way I rate movies in my head is that it has to be exceptional technically. All this, everything, like technically, the story has to be exceptional. The story has to be also exceptional. But the thing that gets it from a 9 to a 10 is that it has to go deep inside of me and pull something out that is usually very difficult to do, and that's essentially why. Yeah, this movie. By the way, it doesn't have to be a movie that has. It doesn't have to have. It doesn't need to be completely faultless technically, as you'll probably find in a bit. But like that's what it has to do for the most part. Exceptional story, exceptionally technically in terms of the way it's being told, and yes, it has to have some sort of deep emotional resonance with me, and that's why this movie is my 10 out of 10. All right, okay. We'll go to the bad now. If you can believe it, there is we did do this for every section. There's parts that we didn't like. So Otas, if you want to
Kick us off.
Jesus Christ, can y'all talk? Hi. So I'll keep it short and sweet as always. I liked. So if you divide this movie into sections, I like each of it individually. However, there's a way that it's put together that feels very disjointed for me. I found that the second lead, I don't remember her name, I found that her story took me out of Mufe's story in a way that I didn't like or enjoy. Okay. And so that's really my major bad. And now also, Mufe is such a, not Mufe, but like Mufe's story and the actors involved in the story are just significantly better, I think. Their story is stronger. Their acting, I found, was a lot more cohesive and better. That when the second act comes on, it's underwhelming. But yeah.
All right. Okay. Thanks, Otas. She finds the second part of the story not as strong as the first. Interesting. Yeah, Otas is always short and sweet. Interesting. I think like generally some people have heard the reverse from others. But let's get to others. Thanks, Otas. Elizabeth.
Sorry, guys. Trying to figure out my. Okay, so first I want to say that I finally finished watching it, guys. Yeah, finished. Now, before I even go into my bad, which I don't even know if I have a lot of bad, but I want to say that everybody has said what I would have said now that I completed the story, understanding the central theme. I just want to say that what this movie left me with was the feeling I felt watching the ending was relief. I was relieved for our two protagonists. But anyways, this is the bad session. So what did I not like here? Okay, not to even sound pedantic. This is also because I just finished watching this movie and I've not really like let it sit in. I've not been able to like mull it over. So and also not authentic. You know how I was going about like I couldn't figure out the time period. Nah, I figured it out because they were dancing that dance that Naira Marley was doing like some 4 years ago, 2019. Now that I didn't like because you know what that scene did to me is that scene now started that scene made me start picking apart the set design, the choice of costume. Because I like the vagueness of the time period. Really, I did. I like that I couldn't piece together exactly when this happened, and also because it was shot on film, it also gives it this this feel. I mean, I know it's not old either, but I was thinking of last decade, within the last decade, not 4 years ago, 5 years ago. And you know why that stood out to me is because 5 years ago you have to actually go in person to go do your passports unless you are doing fake passports from Uluwadi, which they were not doing. So yeah, people were going in person at least 5 years ago. So not like that is fantastic. But really, this is the only thing that I really did not like. So anyway, so that's by the way. So I'll sort of like agree with the last speaker about the second half. I think the other story. While I actually like her own story too. Um, Now the way Mofe's character was very where his characterization was very pronounced, were more obvious. I was really trying to figure out the kind of person that she was, which is not exactly a bad thing, but at the same time, I, I, I couldn't place her. I couldn't place her. I don't know the word to use for this now. I couldn't place her. I mean, I see, she's trying, she's doing everything, she's picking things up, she's trying to do everything right by Grace. You can see she's living for Grace, right? Basically, I figure like if she was by herself, she probably would be able to handle herself, and she's resilient. And we see it. We see how she's dogged, like she's doing the next thing. She needs money. She's selling her things. She doesn't have that time to allow to feel sad for herself. But at the same time, she's also this person that I don't know her. I don't know if that makes sense. Because one thing about characterization for me that I like to know the character in the mundane things, even if slightly, like I said again, how Mofe encapsulates how Mofe's person, how Mofe's person, how he evolved from that as not it didn't evolve from the person, but you see how he evolved, how him taking how is this person who's just so obscure and people just talk over his head and give him instruction, tell him what to do, and you see how he has delayed reaction in things about grief, about things that we're struggling with, about his dad trying to steal from his daughter he hasn't seen these grandchildren ever. And you can see how, when he broke down, sort of like the couple of times that it shows that Mofe is cracking beneath the surface. So here is Hey God, oh, my brain, her name is just running off my head. Now, let me just say Grace's sister because I keep remembering
Rosa,
the you
Rosa,
said what?
Rosa.
Ah, thank you. Rosa. So here is Rosa. I can't even remember her name. That's the thing that character did to me. As much as I really like her story and everything about her depiction, I just don't know her. I don't know if that works as a bad, but it does for me. So the story just, as much as I felt relieved for her, she settled. Please, people settle. We settle. Everybody settles. This country makes you settle. But in a case where her greener pasture was going to Italy with her sister, when it didn't happen because they didn't have that baby to exchange, it really didn't matter because she settled. She was like, you know what, I have another option, and that's the thing I like about her. Like she doesn't sit. She doesn't have enough time to just feel sorry for herself. But again, I just feel like I don't know her. If that works. And again, I'm going back to that set design thing. Oh, how is She Girl's character a house? Look, that house looked like the houses you see in 96 up on to like early 2000s, like but like rich people ish house, whatever. Or has been rich, right? But then you see her at that pool beside that house that we all used to see when we were driving in Lekki. So I'm not going to let that go. Thank you. Bye bye.
All right. Okay.
Sorry,
Then deep in,
quick
deep
pivot
in,
here.
that's okay. Go on.
All right, if you guys can hear me clearly. So there were a couple of things I forgot to mention earlier because I was in a rush to pay my Uber. But so there have been some conversations about how the movie doesn't cast judgment. And I found the opposite to be true. I found that it did cast a lot of judgment. Like it did, I guess, something different than most Nigerian movies do, which is cast judgment on the most obvious choices, which is the pregnant teen girl and the prostitute, or well, not a prostitute, sugar baby, I guess. Well, so her friend I think was the hooker, but it doesn't cast judgment on her either. However, it does cast judgment on, his father. It casts judgment on his boss. It casts judgment on, the white guy's friends. It spends a lot of doing that, casting judgment, respect. And I did not really find that. It seemed like they were trying to go for a neutral tone, but I do think that those undercurrents of judgment does take you away from that. Um, I also didn't really. So I already said I didn't enjoy the second story, but it was more so because it feels like the second story starts in the middle and just sort of ends, I guess. While his story, I guess, and then the way it's put together feels like you get a beginning and an end, and no middle, and just leaves you missing what is really the strongest story. Um, but yeah, that's it.
All right. Thanks. I'm just gonna point out that because I think a couple of people have mentioned this. It seemed to me that Rosa's just a babble. Like I mean, like she doesn't seem like a. I guess one can
Yeah,
say
like
she's
I don't
a.
think the runs. I thought she was just a babe
She's just
because
a babe.
because yeah, people date
People.
people date people. Like I don't.
Yeah.
I know everyone's decided all relationships have to be just because of sunshine, rainbows,
Yeah.
butterflies.
There's
But those are
actually.
the only kind of relationships he has.
Huh? No, no, no,
Those are the
no.
only
No,
kind of.
because
Wait,
honestly,
wait, hang on.
yeah.
There's actually a line in the film where one of her friends behind is showing her a picture of this thing like, and they're saying, "Oh, is it because he's not rich?" Or I can't remember whether they're showing a picture or whether they're talking about him. But they bring up one of the guys, and is it like there's this thing about whether he's nice but he's not rich, and she goes, "Yeah, but he's nice now." And that's her contribution to that's her contribution to her friend. So that was my version. And also, like, we've obviously seen clearly, like, she, for whatever reason, before she met somebody else new, we didn't see anybody in her life. She pulled away from Uncle Vincent, right? Right. Like, so I'm not saying like she. It seems like it's obvious, like, sometimes you do things for financial benefit, but like nothing gives me runs babe this thing. Like, if anything, like, again, there's the last part as well, that where she has this option to go to Italy, and actually do work, right? Work, yeah, in quotes, and she chooses again not to do that. I don't know whether that's also because she would have to work for her sister, or any of that. But yeah, nothing gave me the impression she. I'm just saying that that doesn't invalidate any other issues you have. I don't think, but just a couple of people mentioned it. I do want to give Chuko and Eddie a chance to say something, just in case. I don't know whether they knew we are going to be doing a bad section and stuff, or whether they want to be so, like, Chuko, please, if you wanted to say something about either what you've heard so far, please go ahead. If not, we are. The idea is we'll do a bad section, and then we'll do a like summary of like our overall thoughts. But that's the way this generally goes. But if not, whatever is on your mind, please go ahead.
No, I'll speak after the summary.
All right, cool. All right, thanks. Eddie, is there something you wanted to say?
Yes, I do in fact have a lot of things to say, especially about what where's the other speaker? I think she's gone. The point you raised about, Rosa, and but I just want to say a couple of things to about the film. And honestly, it's one of the best, if not the best, Nigerian film that I have ever seen. And I won't even lie, I'm not about to have a fanboy moment right now, but I'll tell you, I'll give you my short reasons why. And what a lot of people don't understand about the film is it's in as much as it's trying to tell a very important story. It is giving a snapshot of basically what the average um Nigerian what the average Nigerian life is basically. With the many stints of everyone trying to leave the country, trying to look for a better life in whatever means possible. Trust me, I have had the opportunity to travel all around, and it's sad when you see your people trying to struggle once they've left the shores of the country. And that's how I interpret the film, in as much as it's trying to tell the story of just Rosa and Jude and Mofe, sorry. Yeah, Rosa and Mofe. It's really an important story, and I feel the need for Nigerian films to tell much more important story. We're tired of the whole trivial telling stories about, trivial things, trying to paint, tell stories about bourgeoisie families and from Lagos. We need real stories on screen, and Eyimofe really is should be a national treasure. It is. I remember seeing Besida, I think years ago. It's a short film that they did, Arie and Chuko did a long time ago, and it premiered at Berlin. And you don't get to see a lot of Nigerian films, especially films made in our part of Africa, except maybe the Senegalese, but I'm not sure. But yeah, from our part of the world being made on film. And it's like when you look back, it's like the whole section of our history is missing because we literally don't have like a rich, film history. We can't like, boast of having a robust film history like folks in Senegal who those ones they have a really reputable film history. But I digress. I just want to talk more about the film. It's very beautiful. Every single shot of the film, and it encompasses the energy that Lagos has to offer in its own way, in its own special, very nuanced and poignant manner. And I do in fact want to tell Chuko that what he and Ari did in the film is was really special. And I also wanted to point out one of my, important observations, especially from the ending, is I think Chuko and Ari wanted to, in fact, they did want to, they ended the story in such a way that most Nigerians would agree on. It's regardless of whether or not you try to leave the shores of the country, no matter how much you try, just you make sure that what you have here is going to be better than what you eventually are going to go through when you leave the shores of the country. It's better to establish yourself here and just try and you know don't just leave from hand to mouth. Just try and get something going for yourself rather than going to another man's country without any connections or any help, just trying to make ends meet. Sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes it does work. So that's why you find a lot of our people stranded abroad. Yeah, but I have a lot of things to say about the film, but those are just like my little pointers. By praise to Chuko and Ari for the film as well, and also for Iroko Critics. You guys have been doing an amazing work hosting these spaces for you guys actually really shining a light on a lot of indie films being made in Nigeria. Not a lot really. Um, not a lot of Nigerian indie films are being praised or even being talked about really. So yeah, that's what I have to say.
Thanks, Eddie. I appreciate the shout out. All right. So just in case you join us now, we have done the good. We are talking about the bad section or things we didn't like. All right. So Vanessa.
Sorry, hi. Sorry, I just got distracted. I'm trying to decide if I want to cook rice or if I want to order in. Okay, things I didn't like. Oh, this one go had small. Oh. I won't even. This is not even me being facetious. I didn't think of it. I genuinely didn't think of anything that I didn't like. Maybe Jude slipping in and out of his accent on and off threw me off a bit, but it was honestly inconsequential. It didn't
To be,
really.
to be fair, this is someone who hasn't been in Nigeria for
That's why I'm
decades.
saying it was
Yeah, so-
inconsequential. It didn't really do too much. I'm just pulling stuff out of my butt at this point. Um, what else didn't I like? I didn't. There wasn't anything that really stuck out to me. Like I think on the rare occasions where we do these spaces where we talk about films that we actually like, a main running thread for me is when I actually really like a film, I just watch it because I'm enjoying it. I'm not nothing. If I really enjoy a film, nothing is so bad that will pull me out of it that I have to take notice of. So I guess in all my ramblings and mainly maybe motivated by hunger, is there wasn't anything that I didn't
All right. No,
like
that.
and was particularly offensive to me.
All right. No, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. It's okay not to have a thing. Yeah. All right. Cynthia, do you want to say things that didn't click for you?
Oh yeah. So so the first thing is just a question. So it's not like it's a dislike. It was just something that confused me. And forgive me, I am a biology student. So during the power outage, after the electric shock, there was this speed wisdom used to on the lights that felt like it was because of the electric spark that the lights on for in one view, and at another view I felt like it's just an electrician doing his thing where you off everything to fix the light, then you switch the lights on when you're done fixing it. Okay, so maybe because wisdom was too fast in the way it switched on the lights, I was like, what are they showing? Are they showing that after the spark the lights came on? Okay, so they did not show wisdom switching on the lights, but I mean, I heard a light was switching on. So I was like, are they showing that the lights came on after the spark, or is just an electrician thing of you have to like off everything because you have to fix something. And when you are done, the lights, you go and switch on the light. But it was just too fast and felt like, yeah, it just kept me in. What are they trying to show me? Okay. Then, secondly, oh no, firstly, so now this might dislike. Um, while I was watching this movie, I kind of noticed a blur picture at the beginning. I kind of noticed a blur picture of a girl taking a passport photograph with the white clothes when Moffat went to take his international passport. So when they introduced Rosa's character, of which I will agree with everybody, um, I had to go back to find out what her name was, because I had to talk about her. So there was just something about her story that we didn't know. Okay, so somebody was even saying her name is Messi. Sorry, but if not for Film Club, I wouldn't have known her name. So yeah. So what was I saying? When Mofe was taking his international passport, there was this blur image of a girl standing, and they had these white clothes. For some reason, I noticed that image. So when they introduced Rosa's character, and I saw this white clothes, white clothes flip, I was like, oh my god, it's the same. So these people life are going to converge, they're going to be connected. It's the same scene I've seen at the beginning of the movie. But then again, when I now like had to rewind because I have to like write things, I was angry that it wasn't the same scene. I was angry that it wasn't the same scene. Even though the girl in the blood picture looks like Rosa because they were both on short wig. The person from Mofe was wearing a yellow and white trouser, and she was wearing a gown at the market. I don't see what was significant market. I just wished it was something that we had seen a character in Mofet's story at that beginning. Then now seeing it when they started a story and we saw them in the hospital that both of them were in the hospital when he was asking for the amount of mortuary. It would have it would have done better for me, but it's not really a big deal. It's because I kind of noticed that blur image. If I did not notice that blur image of a girl taking picture with a white clothes, this would have not been here. Then also for some though I agree that everyone's settled. I felt Mofel settled better. Okay, so I felt they took time to do Mofet's ending. He had his loss and everything. And even at the epilogue, it was only his story we saw. It's only its ending we saw where he now have this shop with Precious, his sister's name, and he now repair things. And yeah, so I don't know how I felt about the landlord and that dynamic. Yes, I know it's a common thing, but I also just felt it was predatory, and I just wish she also had her own kind of settling, like the way Mufes settled. I don't know if I'm making sense, but I don't know how I feel about her own settling. Then another thing was I don't know why I thought they were going to meet in this movie. I don't know why I thought the two characters were going to meet, but the movie gave hints. Okay, so the passport photograph, even though when I rewind and it's probably not what I thought it was. They meet at the hospital. The fridge is bad, so they took it to Moffat to feast. I just felt like these people were going to somehow meet, but they didn't meet, and yeah, it's fine. It's what they choose to make. And another thing is, you see, these are not major issues compared to other movies. I will not be doing Another thing is I don't know, but Mofe as the lead, I I kind of felt it was soulless. So I know that that was what they wanted him to be. I know that was what they wanted him to be,
Sorry,
but
did you say soulless?
what?
Did you say soulless?
Yes, soulless. Like It is
Oh,
someone that lacks emotion.
Wow.
I'm
go
So
sorry. I'm
Mofe did
sorry.
not see emotions in that film.
ahead. All right.
Wow.
After she finishes, you can address.
All
Let
right, no
let
problem, no problem, no problem.
go on,
Okay, yeah.
Cynthia.
So I kind of felt Mofe was soulless. I know some people said it's his accent. I don't know if it's his accent, but like when he lost his sister and his kid, I'm someone that is very emotional. I'm someone that cried for little things. Yeah, I just felt nothing. I felt nothing. So I don't know what I was expecting. If I was expecting to feel his emotion, or if that was how they choose to do the thing. But for some reason, I felt nothing. And I'm not a coded person, no, but I felt nothing. And when in a I know they had a scene where he was talking slowly to his father and he was trying to bring emotion, but because I felt nothing when his sister died, I don't know. I also did not feel anything. And so we had this beautiful scene where he remembered, not like he remember when he went to sit down to watch the TV show his sister usually used to watch. I just felt it was cute. Okay, so for some reason I was unable to connect to any emotion, or especially the emotion of death. Okay, so it's not like it's a big deal in the movie, but for me, I just could not connect. I just could not connect to him. Okay, and a little bit it also happened with Rosa when she was asking about why her sister was receiving blood. At least that was better. I could feel her pain a little bit, but at the same time, I could not like feel her pain. So yeah, so it's just it. And yeah, I mean, they saw that they were going to meet. I wish they had met or something. And maybe if they had a short talk, maybe I would have connected to Mofe emotionally. But I was just lost in that part. And yeah, that's all for me.
All right.
Okay, sorry, host. Sorry, before you call any other person, I just wanted to say something about what Cynthia said. Just my 2 cents, basically. I'm gonna address two things. The part where she said Mofe was soulless, and the other part where she said the characters didn't meet. Before I enter, before I even
If I
address
could
it,
just still man the characterization, I would probably say maybe cold is probably better than.
no,
But
exactly. That's
especially
my
when,
point.
yeah.
My point
Mm.
is that statement should not even be made because I think there's a problem with um maybe people from our part of the world watching films. We don't really understand when it comes to performing, especially when it comes to acting. And I'll explain why she observes Mofer, why she believes that Mofer, was cold or soulless in the whole film. Mofer is a man, first and foremost, and this is someone who has been working all his life. He has been doing so many jobs. If you've noticed, like the performances by the actors or the actresses, nuance plays a very, very important role. And most people don't know. Once a filmmaker said, we think is the biggest things in our lives that actually causes, that makes a difference, or the biggest things in our life that actually, that has so much impact in our life. But it's actually not. It's the littlest things, the littlest the mundane things that we are not, or we don't even pay attention to, that actually impacts our daily life. And we don't know. We have no idea. But I digress. I I was saying that one, Mofe is a man. Two, this is someone a Lagos working class, someone that is barely even able to afford so much for himself, for his sister, for his nephew and nieces. You don't expect that kind of person to be wailed or to be dismayed by little things. He's this is someone that has to be very hard if he's to survive the hardship of Lagos, not to even talk of the hardship of so many things he faces in life. And three, there was a scene where the I think early morning where there was the bunch of women were singing praises, and you could just how would you say that that performance was soulless, man? This is someone who even acts in theaters, and you could see this is so. Have you? I don't. I have to ask. Have you ever known anyone who's lost everything? Like anyone who's really lost someone really close to them? If you really, really had someone, or you have lost someone really close to me. I have lost someone really close to me. The fact that I didn't cry doesn't mean I'm soulless. You need to understand that the performance is in the nuance itself. And there was a part in the film where he broke the news to his, I think his dad in the village, and you could just see him fall apart in real time. He could barely even, like, when after breaking the news to him, someone of, like, that's how I interpret Buffett's character. Someone that who's strong. Okay, when a strong person finally crumbles under the pressure of realization of reality check, it is really, you really need to, if you really know anyone who you think is cold in real life and you finally see them break down. Honestly, honestly, you can't tell me Buffet was cold in that film. Nah. That performance was, to me, it was brilliant. I mean, that's the beauty about art. I mean, we're left to interpret any way we can. We're left to observe it any way we can. And yeah, that's all I have to say about Buffet. Then the second part of the characters never meeting. To be fair, Grace did meet Buffet when she was taking a walk at night. So I think what I believe, to the best of my knowledge, Mofa probably has seen them before, or he probably knows about them. But yeah, maybe the two of the characters, they had their lives intertwined one way or the other, because they all lived in the same place. They all had the same plan, that is to leave the country for greener pastures. So yeah, there's no, but on host, sorry, I'm taking so much time. But on the notion of the bad section of the film, I was going to ask, rather I'm meaning to, know more about, Tomiwa Edun's role in the film, and also there's the particular scene where they were by the beach. Was it by the beach or something, where they were all having a conversation? Yeah, I don't know. I just felt that maybe that part was like a filler or something. Didn't really have any significance to the story though. But I just believe that, just it's just, when you when you make films like this, when you tell stories like this, you don't really have to pay so close attention to the plots. It's really just telling the experience of the experiences of each character. So yeah, that's all I have to say.
Okay, fair enough. Sorry if my opinion hurts you, but
Hurt you? No, no,
um,
no, no. Sorry,
yeah,
no.
yeah,
We're just
yeah. But even if I feel Mofe had the better story, for some reason I also feel he was the weakest in this movie. Okay, and yeah, that's my opinion.
Yeah,
And
yeah. No, I think I can understand that it may. I get it. I think I did the whole spiel out about how Mofe feels very much like me. Like, so I felt obviously connected with Mofe on a very deep level, right? So, and I did think there's something to it being a man, but like this is why we're different. Like, you can see that, and that could also, that could also like put you off. Like, you may not understand why anyone would behave like that, and that's fine. We're all different and we'll perceive things differently. But like, yeah, well, happy for all opinions to be expressed. But yeah, so yeah, fact checks is what I'm more or less, or maybe I guess like if you want to address somebody's version of their bad, like maybe address it as maybe look at it from this other perspective as opposed to them being wrong, because like whatever they saw is however they felt at the time, and it is what it is, except obviously if they got something wrong. Fact check is fact check. Like I would say, when even when Rosa like goes to the hospital, and she has been running around scraping around for money, and they tell her, oh, the money was higher than what the last thing she came back. Like her reaction to which blood is like I can't believe like I just got the money you asked me to pay for. What is this extra jar on top? And again, that's for me. It's like the whole. It's part of this whole system thing. But yes, again, everybody entitled to their versions. All right. Fider, do you want to
Wait, first, now, before Faida, I want to just round off this place because you and Eddie said something that I actually want to push back on because I'm a little in my feelings. Sorry, Faida. I'm a little salty. I think it's a bit reductive to keep saying the reason for Mofe's handling of his grief has to do with him being a man. I just genuinely think it's a bit reductive. Yes, are Nigerian men socialized to not be as emotional or emotionally expressive? Yes. However, I don't think that was the
Um,
core of this character. Eddie,
yeah,
please, can I just
okay. Yeah,
finish?
no, finish. Yeah. I was
Yes.
about to address something, but yeah.
Uh-huh. I even me go say if I have things to address. I do think though that the core of this is not in reference to being a man. I'm not saying it doesn't have a part to play in it. I just
Uh,
think it's a bit reductive
the
to
fact that
put
you
it
think
at
it
that.
has a path to
I'm
play
still going no.
has answered the whole thing.
I'm still talking no.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Um I'm not disagreeing that I'm on the part where Mofe isn't soulless. I disagree with Cynthia on that. However, I think it's just a bit reductive. The character, there's a lot about this character that explains why he dealt with his grief the way he did. And it had nothing to do with him being a man. Like Elizabeth said, he was desensitized to a lot of things. He has gone through a lot. And I think for a lot of us as Nigerians who have lived in Nigeria for a very long time, we have seen enough suffering. If you've seen enough hardship and you've not been inundated by a lot of other factors, if you've seen enough hardship, if you've been through enough pain, the tendency for you to become numb to certain things is very high. So there's probably a factor of him being desensitized by his environment and the hardships that he's been through. But there's also the fact, like we mentioned, that he's always in a fixing mode. It's the way that he's learned to cope, right? It's in the way he constantly is on to the next and does not allow for himself to have time to grieve. But I also do understand people whose qualms with this character is it would have been nice, and maybe that's me now saying about that I apparently didn't have, but would it have been nice to have one scene, maybe half a scene, maybe 2 seconds of Mofe sitting with his grief? It didn't have to be an overly expressive show of emotions. It didn't have to involve him wailing. Nothing. But I'm sure for a lot of people, it would have been nice to see him sit with his grief. But I don't think it was a fatal flaw with the storytelling. But however, I just think it's a bit reductive to reduce it to manhood.
Yeah, but can you agree with me that both men and women have the different ways of dealing with emotions?
Oh,
That's the first
Yeah,
one. Secondly,
See,
secondly,
Eddie,
that
see,
way
that's
secondly,
where me and
I'm
you
not
will
trying
now
to
on.
fight
be, no,
though.
I'm not
Because me,
trying
I
to
actually
be,
want to
no, no,
flog
I'm not
you.
trying to be
I
sexist. No, no, no,
actually
no, no,
want to
wait, wait.
flog you. Because
I'm,
that's where me and you will fight.
All right, can we move on?
no, I'm not
Because we're
trying
gonna
to
keep
pick a
going round in a
side,
Because
circle on this
but
I
topic.
just
this
think
is,
that
Eddie?
all right. Okay, I've muted everybody. All right. No, just I'm muting you guys because like we've been around it. Like you guys are more or less on the same page. Yeah, I just yes, we just talking about is time to move on to the next thing. I think we got it. Everybody understands where it's part of it. Doesn't need to be all of it. That's it. I'm very much keen to hear every and everybody, but like there's no point in rehashing. It's people to get to, and time. All right. Okay. So Fida, please go on. Right.
Hi. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Okay. So let me not lie, I really force myself to have dislikes because I'm like, I can't be coming on this space all the time and having long likes and like short dislikes. But still, I couldn't come up with many things. So these are my dislikes. First of all, no, and I don't want it to be like I'm shading the movie because I really don't. I'm not a shade to the movie. I just wanted to come up with dislikes and have a balanced argument. So that's my thing. I didn't like the beaded wig that I think her name is Rosa, not Mercy, had. Please forgive me. I didn't like the wig. It didn't do anything to me. I just saying that it's something I didn't like. Then these two things have nothing to do with the film, like to attack it. But like these are things that I saw and I was like, wow. So the fact that the dad never even saw his daughter's children until they were dead, I was like, what the hell? Then the fact that the father even felt entitled to his daughter's money and used Bimbo Manuel's character as a proxy to obtain it, I was like, wow. And then I don't know if we know whether Mofe got his sister's money and that was what he used to set up his table before he expanded to his own shop. I don't know if I missed that and it was made clear elsewhere, but I don't think I got it. Lastly, the one that really hurt me for Rosa, I'm assuming that that's her name, was when that guy ghosted her after she asked for the rent. I was looking at her, and the thing about me with that scene or with this whole film was I was in the film, so it's kind of like what they were experiencing, I was experiencing with them. So I found myself kind of like trying to calculate how Rosa could have handled that situation with her landlord and this Lebanese guy at the same time. I was like, Rosa, this guy, the landlord has been there, providing the stuff, the money. I'm not saying that you owe him love or anything, but at least because he's a familiar presence, right? You don't know anything about this new guy. Rosa, don't ask this guy for rent, especially after this the friend had been coming up with the rants. I didn't even like the friend at all. The friend had been coming up with the rants, and so that thing about rent and what they would do had already gone into the American guy's head. And in that conversation that they had in the room when they were speaking, and she had that phone call and he said, oh, so you what happened to the phone I gave you? The vibe was just like, oh, she's losing this. And so like, okay, she said she gave the phone to her sister. He already had that face. He had such an expressive face. I really like that. But my dislikes. So then when she now said, when the issue with the landlord came up, where he was like that, oh, are you leaving me for this guy and all of that? I was like, Rosa, wow, how are we going to do this? How are you going to keep this money flowing on one side and try and form an emotional relationship with this guy? But we know why you were doing what you were doing, Rosa. You were trying to get a better life for you and your sister. So for me, what I didn't like is that I was trying to calculate for her and I was willing her to make the right decision. I really was invested. I'm not going to lie because, like I mentioned before, I love the landlord. But I'm not saying that because the landlord loves her, she should love him back. But he'd been there and he was like, he was genuinely a cool guy. There was a way that she could have handled it in a respectful way, which I feel she didn't. So that really hurt me in a way. Then when she now asked for the rent, I was saying this to myself. I said, guy, you've been asking this guy has been giving you money for a while. You have this relationship, the landlord though. But like, why are we asking a new person that we've not even secured the foundation with? He's not even a stable person. You don't even know anything just yet. The friend is a red flag. Please don't do this. And then when she did it, and which was right after that conversation about the rent, I was so heartbroken. Then when she called the guy and the guy was not answering, I was like, he's ghosted you. Oh my days. Sorry. I lost myself. I was so invested, is basically what I'm saying. And I thought this was my podcast for a minute. But my point is that Rosa, I was really rooting for the babe, and like that thing was the only thing that made me feel like, oh, I don't like this. I wish my sister really did better, But that's all my dislikes. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Vida. Quick question: did you discuss the? Are you saying you discussed this on your podcast? I need to.
No. It's the way I was shouting.
Okay.
I forgot that I'm in a safe space for not that kind of behavior. Sorry about that.
All right, no. All right, thanks. No, all right. TFR, do you want to say some of the things you didn't like?
Man, like everyone else, I was struggling to look for what to add. But the major thing for me, I think Vanessa already said it is the main character Mofe, he was slipping in and out of his accent, especially as someone that was trying to like act as an Igbo person. Like I could tell that he was he was trying, he tried. It wasn't terrible. I've seen Nigerians that live in Nigeria with worse pidgin, so like acting with was pigeon. So it wasn't terrible, but I could if I want to start nitpicking or start for a dislike, I would say that that's the only one for me. Like I could hear when he was sleeping out, or hear when there's a kind of accent like that British people have when they are trying to, you know, do like a Nigerian accent. I could hear it in certain things. Then apart from that, I don't think I didn't like anything else. Yeah. I just to push back quickly too on what I don't think I agree with Cynthia about the soullessness. I think that that was just how the guy don't too see shaggy.
Who have we lost here for? Is it just me?
No, lost
Uh,
her too.
you
Uh,
lost something. I can't hear her.
all right. Okay. All right. That's fine. I think she had said her dislikes. People struggling. You guys. I thought you guys were the haters film club. You guys are not doing your job. You guys are not doing your job. You're letting your title down. All right. A lot of people struggling. All right. Mel, you're quite high on the hater index. Come on, take your best shot. Mel.
I'm quite high because you put me there. This agenda shall not stand. What are my like most people have said, I struggle to find my dislikes. Um, it's not that I did not find, I did. But I think that this just shows that for me, when I'm watching a movie, I'm not trying to, I guess, overanalyze. I just want to have a good time and identify with the message or the themes or the point of it. Um, I want to see a vision and I guess the worldview um, that is just interesting. And I thought that Eyimofe brought that. I thought that we've been overdue for a movie that is honest about just the Nigerian experience. I thought we've been overdue for a movie that is authentic as well. I think this year, compared to maybe at least for Film Club, compared to maybe last year, we've had we've had a good number of like movies that felt very authentic, that felt like they were backed by a really strong worldview. Anyway, so my dislikes. Elizabeth has talked about the time frame. It's something that was nagging at the back of my head. What time are we in? It wasn't immediately clear. And I think certain decisions need that even less clear. Um, so I don't know. I just not knowing the time. Mm, I like the I like the vagueness, but I also sometimes when certain things happened, it just really reminded me that it wasn't clear what time we were in. I did not like the scene about Mufe not knowing what WhatsApp was. I don't know what the reasons what were I don't know what the reasons for that could be. Poor people know what WhatsApp is, even when they don't have phones to use WhatsApp. So I'm not very clear about just the thought process that led to that. Um, the white guy's friend, like the elite friends, I don't know if we needed them. I'm not sure what they accomplished. I don't agree with the chemistry. I don't think that there was I think that that was one of the weaker parts of the film. Just that every time they showed up on my screen, I wasn't certain what was going on. I think that Chi Girl's character, the condescension and the patronizing tone in which she talked to the girls, her transactional niceness, I thought that it really set up the contrast between the rich and the poor and how they relate. I thought that that did a better job of setting up that contrast than the friend group. I don't know. I just was one of my dislikes. Um, I think my bigger dislike would be just how community fails to show up. Um, for instance, the way that I'm thinking about it is Mufe as a bachelor who's been living with his sister and her kids. I'm guessing the entire neighborhood knows that he's been, for instance, this is Nigeria, so the sister's likely taking care of him, cooking for him, and suddenly he loses her in one day and loses her kids. Anyway, where are the neighbors showing up with plates of food for the first few days until he can find his feet? I didn't see that. Where's the church, or the mosque or some religious community? Did not see that. Um, Even at the burial, it felt a little too quiet for me. I've not been to a lot of burials, but I have been with people who know someone who has lost something, and the way that the community galvanizes to show up for that person, to show up with food so that they're not thinking about food for a couple of days, to show up to mourn with them. I thought that that was missing. Just I think that Nigeria is just very communal. All your neighbors know your business, especially in settings like that. And I thought that while there were parts of it that shone through, I could see it. I thought that I was making a lot of it up based on my own experience rather than the movie really leaning heavily into it. I think the point is that I would have preferred for the movie to lean heavily into it. You don't, again, that's such a devastating loss. You don't suffer such a loss and your neighbors are not a part of your life for a minute. I liked how the landlord showed up for him. Where are the neighbors? Where are the religious people? Where are the people from his work? Where um Anyway, so my final decide would be something that I'm feeling strongly, but I haven't had the chance to put into words yet. I think I need a second watch or maybe a third watch to feel a lot more confident about my position. But the way that I'm feeling it right now is I don't know if Eyimofe has escaped accusations of poverty porn yet. I would like to think that it has, but there's just something that just holds me back. And I think that one of the ways in which my brain rationalizes it is that we don't know any of the characters aside from what happens to them. We see what happens to them, but we don't know them. We cannot be presented with a scenario and then we would predict correctly or with any measure of accuracy what any of these characters would do because we don't know them outside of the things that have happened to them that we have seen happen to them. I think that we spend all our time on things that happen to them rather than on who they are. We don't see them take decisions based on any value system. I don't know how to explain it. So bear with me. Anyway, I think that it shows up the most in Rosa's character. I think her character is pretty weak, and I think an example. I think the bigger argument for why her character must have been pretty weak is that too many of us did not know her name. Um, I called her Mercy. I was 100% sure. In fact, I'm still like 60% sure her name is Mercy. Are you sure? Her name is not Mercy. But anyway, I think that just it was so easy to look past the person. We know what happens. We know about the white guy. We know about his friends. We know how they make fun of her. We know about her sister. In fact, we probably know more about her sister than we do about her. We know all of these things that surround the character, but the character herself is missing from our experience of the movie. Um, Anyway, we don't know if she's with the white guy for money. Fight has already talked about just it being so strange that she's reaching out to this random person that she's just been with that is surrounded by condescending people who are worlds apart from her, and she's like, "Oh, give me rent money." She should have been smarter than that, right? But we don't know that for certain because we've also seen her sort of use the landlord. So she using I don't know. Anyway, so I don't know if Eyimofe escapes accusations of poverty porn. I think it's a lot. It gives poor people a lot more dignity than we're used to seeing in Nollywood. But I don't know if it's in the clear yet. And I but I don't have any. I can't tell you for certain that it is or it isn't. So that's one of sort of my dislikes, maybe in the middle. But that's about it for me. Thank you.
Exactly what I expected from the number one hater. Our label might be restored. All right, thanks, Mel. Safe to say, I do disagree almost entirely with everything you say. And it's just even too much to unravel. But yeah, I think a lot of things that you said when there were actually very much there. But maybe second or third watch might change your mind, maybe not. Who knows? All right. Yinka, do you want to go next?
Yes. I have to say I'm in the middle of Mel and Mr. C. Now, I did watch the interview that they did with I think
I have
Lincoln
to say,
Center.
that middle is like that's a very huge middle. We're
I'm in the
very,
middle
very
because
far apart.
both of you actually do have some points because indeed some of that communal thing was there that she was talking about was sort of there. Like especially for you see them help them carry the body out. You see the man that follows him to the hospital to take the funeral, to take something. And we see that man, we know the man is in the neighborhood because we see him in the store, the little store before he actually got his own shop, waiting, looking over the store for the engineer. You know, we see the landlord giving, we see the people that prayed after the death was confirmed. We do see some of that. But I do get what she was saying that like, oh, the office and all those things and like some of the communal thing. And as she pointed out, especially in Rosa, we don't really see Rosa's story be very communal as much. Now that's kind of one of the dislikes. And she is right about the movie not completely necessarily escaping um, poverty porn, but like it's not out and out explicitly poverty porn. Absolutely not. This is a poverty porn that I can accept because it actually gives the characters respect. Now to my sort of dislike. Okay. I watched the interview that they did with I think Lincoln Center, and the director, I know you. Yeah, I'm so sorry. Did mention that Rose's story, like he wrote Mufe's story and kind of wrote Rose's story more like, and but then he realized that our story cannot necessarily fit in within Mufe's story. It was supposed to be, I think, one of the characters that was around Mufe and which related to Mufe in a way, and then he takes it out and then fleshes it out more, and you can kind of see some of the consequences of that in the fact that we don't really know Rosa that much. It seems that like he might have spent I don't know, you can tell me after this. I'm so sorry, but I'm using based on context clues of what I got. It seems like he might have spent more time fleshing out Mofe's character and story, since that was the main story that was to be said, than Rose's story. And we can see some of that because we don't necessarily, I think we know more about Grace than we know much about Rosa. Yeah, Rosa makes stupid decision. Farida, I was with you. I was like, is this girl not understanding how to do this trigger mama thing very well? Like, especially when you have a condescending Shay right there. That guy's son, that character was certainly perfectly well written, perfectly well acted. So that's the thing. Like with Rose's character, there's just it's a little the story. Even by the time we get to the epilogue, it doesn't. She doesn't really have an epilogue. Did she indeed marry the well, the landlord, Sir Vincent? I don't know. Did I just call him Sir Vincent? I don't know, Mr. Vincent. I don't know. I don't know. There is a sort of ending, I guess. The sister finally supporting and making a sacrifice on her own with selling it, and kind of like they're going to be okay. But it's not as more definite as Mofe's own is more definite. So I can see why people are like, eh? And in regards to poverty porn, I do heard that the director said he lived in I think Mushin. Mushin, yeah, in the apartment that becomes the apartment of Mofe. He lived there. So I don't know whether what he saw is the phones that they were using is a big question. They were using like Nokia. This is the thing that also gets to people, like people are wondering what the time is. They were using like 2000 Nokia. That's like, it's more than 20 years now. And I don't, like, they're cheap touchscreen phones. They're cheap touchscreen. That's how China, a lot of Chinese phone companies like Techno, all those things, they're like less than 100. They are 100. By this time and era and something, they're cheap stock change phone that people uses. You know, for Mofe, I can kind of still understand how Mofe may not know WhatsApp. Maybe it doesn't have anybody who is abroad, because that's how WhatsApp became very popular abroad. Or And he's older. He's an older man. He's an older man. He's not going. He's not as connected. He was born during a time that the internet is still something like, maybe he was in his 20s and 30s and the internet was really forming or something like that. He's an older man, so I can still get it. But it's still a little bit awkward that he wouldn't necessarily know what WhatsApp is. And like the phone that even Rosa is a younger woman. She can probably afford, from the way she's dressing. She's poor, don't get me wrong. But from the way she's not like abject poor. Right? She's not like, it's not abject poor. Like abject poor is either house or food. Which one? Like the way I'm thinking about it, I don't, again, I may like, she would have one of the cheaper touchscreen phones. You know, it's like, why is she having Nokia? Why is she having 2000 Nokia? Like, let's say there's a show that I'm watching and it's in Japan and it's set in Japan and they're doing all this like type of, I can understand that because I know Japan's culture about technology. People really think that Japan is actually very as technology forward. Actually, there's technology that sometimes they use that everybody uses. They still use like 2G something. They still use discs and DVDs and all that stuff. I can get that. That's the country's culture. But for Nigeria, why? So that's something that can be problems. But again, I didn't live in Mushin. Maybe when he was living in Mushin for all those years, he saw a lot of people use that type of phone. I don't know. I didn't live in Mushin, but I do know that those type of phones are not really, people can, like, poorer people than Rosa can, and you're living in Lagos. It's not like you're living, they even, like, they would, like, let's say they're in the village, I can probably more understand that, but not even that type of touching, that type of Nokia is old. Like, it's very old. It's a very old Nokia. Who are they selling it? We need to conserve that. That needs to go into the museum type of thing. So that's those are some of the things like that shows that's just more mundane sort of things. But the most serious thing is that Rose's story was not necessarily as fully fleshed out as Mofe's story.
It,
I also want to apologize because I didn't think this movie was going to be good and it actually was good. So sorry.
all right.
I had it like when you told me, I looked up who the directors were and I saw Columbia University and I was like, oh my God, this is probably going to be one of those type of movies. Sorry.
Okay. All right. I think that's a free.
Is that everyone?
Well, I think yeah. So it's you. By the way, I want to say all these things. I guess two things I would push back on if the poverty porn thing. I think the way porn is used in these terms is like it's supposed to be graphic and in your face. If graphic, gratuitous, that type of thing, like almost no point or the point being really shallow, like or just yeah. So the poverty, as far as I see in this, is a character. Like there's a like it was. I think somebody else actually had said it. Like it's yeah. It just feels like it's not certainly a pushback that I I relate with. The other thing I think is like the other things that I think I've seen somebody think it was things on phones. I think a couple of people have said it now. I know people with really shitty phones that they're still using rubber band to tie.
Exactly.
I know that I've seen that 2021. I haven't seen them since last year, but 2021 at the time I did it. Like so I don't know, like it's possible you don't see that, but like be careful with the generalizations of I don't think anybody like, and I'm not like even in, I wouldn't consider myself somebody who I'm certainly of a more privileged class in Nigeria, and the fact that I know people, like it's weird to hear people say they can't think of somebody with a phone that isn't a touch screen phone. That's a very strange perspective. But
Pushback to the pushback. I said I can understand Mufe is an older guy. I'm just saying that the phone that they're using is really, really old style. And I'm saying for the way they also dress up, what's that? Rosa? Rosa is a young lady. She can afford, I'm not even talking about expensive like touchscreen phones. I'm talking about cheap touchscreen phones that she can at least do that. She seems to be the type of person you can see from the dressing, from the something she's up to stare. And people
do
do
you remember
have
what she did when
bad
she got?
phones.
Do you remember what happened?
People
What the phone was bought for her? That was a nice phone. Do you remember what she did with it?
look, like again, there is I'm just saying the phone that she will personally originally have will not be a whole Nokia that is like 20, 10 years, not even 10 years. It's a very old, it looks like a very old type of phone that gives you early 2000s,
Okay.
like mid 2000s. That's what I am saying. I'm not saying she's going to have like,
I
but
didn't mischaracterize you, did I? I
yeah,
just said I
yeah, it's
disagree with you. I just said I disagree.
you can I'm not also there's different types of touchscreen phone. There is like having the highest end, and then there is the cheapest end, like the cheapest basic end. And yeah, people can have phones. Like I've broken my phone. My phone sometimes have like really crappy something. I keep that thing because I'm not about to spend no money on it. Like yeah, but at least the phones that I do have makes sense. Like if you're going to characterize that like that, you kind of have to also characterize. It kind of doesn't make sense like
Okay,
that.
okay, okay. Okay, all right. Yeah,
So
I get.
it's not
I think I get the
exegetic.
point. No, I just want to move on to Mel. Mel has her hand up. Yeah, I get your point. You don't think she should have that type of phone. All right, cool. Mel.
Yeah, I just wanted to define poverty porn so that we're all on the same page.
Okay.
It's not just about the gory images. I think that the core point of it being porn is that it is an overindulgence. An overindulgence when we're mostly from an observatory capacity. We're not participating in the poverty. So we're not the poor people. We're people sitting in the comfort of our homes watching the poor people, right? That's what makes it porn, because we're not participating, we're observing, but we're also overindulging. And it's just necessary mostly because it indignifies, it strips these people away from their personhood, from their dignity as people, and just overly focuses on their condition as poor people. They're full people. They're not just poor. They're also happy. They're sad. They're women. They're men. They're in between. They're dramas, actors. There are lots more things than just poor people. If poverty porn, because we've streamlined it into this specific thing that they are, and we're observing it, and we're overindulging in this specific thing that we've determined that they are. So it's not just about the gore and the explicitness of it. It's also about the indulgence.
Okay, so I'm going to say, first of all, I think Onyeka has a point with Rosa. I think Rosa would have a cheap, very cheap, relatively smartphone. Although it seemed like Grace did have a smartphone that one time because she was the one looking on socials with her friends. So it did seem like she would put Grace's stuff before herself. And, secondly, I think especially going with Mel's definition of poverty porn, I am more inclined to say Eyimofe was not poverty porn. And I pointed out that I felt like these people could be my neighbors. Probably not right now, but I said I remember the particular street that I lived in where I felt like these people could be my neighbors, where I felt like their experiences were not something I was looking in on, right? And I say this as somebody who has, I've known, like, deep poverty, right?
Yeah.
But I was raised in a family that has known periods of poverty, right? They've had stretches where someone had to come bring food for us to eat, that kind of thing. So it didn't feel like poverty porn. It didn't feel like, look at these poor people. Oh my God, don't you feel bad for them, right? I'd heard stuff of my neighbors having generator stuff in their house, right? Putting a generator in their house. It was a big cautionary tale for quite a period of time when I was growing up because it was happening so much around us. You put your generator inside your house so that somebody doesn't steal it. You've died of carbon monoxide poisoning. It happened. It's not, oh, that area over there where people are poor, this thing happens, right? The neighborhood hairdresser, right, where Rosa works. I've gone to that hairdresser. I've done my hair there. Right. This was my neighbor. This was my neighbor on the next street. This was the neighbor over there. So it's especially going by that. I wasn't looking in on these poor people. Oh my God, look at them. Look at their suffering. Look at how, you get what I mean? This could be my neighbors on the next street over or 2 houses down the road. So yeah, I'm pushing back on poverty porn.
All right. Okay. Anyway, this is why I guess, like, different people's experiences inform me on certain things, because like that's the same thing. It's like if it was a poverty, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this happens. There's nothing I saw in this movie that didn't feel like, I feel like very familiar, like too familiar, and it's part of why the movie hits so home at different parts for us, I guess. Anyway, but I think we've kind of done the bad. Everybody has had a round, but we'll do summaries just now.
I just want to say, like, maybe I'm not thinking it's like poverty porn. Like, this movie should not be put in some movies that definitely do poverty porn. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just pointing out a little places that they might have done a little bit better. But then again, he lived in Mushi. I didn't live in Mushi. So what do I know?
Okay.
It should not be compared to like actual movies that are like way poverty porn. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, come on.
All right. I do want to hear from Chuko. So like, and I have given everybody their chance to go around about the things they don't like. So so let's do a summary so that we can get to that. Please make it quick if you can. So let's start with TFR.
Okay, so great film. I would definitely recommend. I think it's the like best film technically that has come out, as in technical aspects, that has come out from Nigeria. It is in my Nollywood Hall of Fame. I do not believe it is poverty porn. If we're using Mel's definition, I definitely disagree. I do agree with Oyinko about the phone thing. The like maybe Rosa should have had. I tend to agree with that. But apart from that, I'm very happy, that film club today, we spent almost 2 hours on the good. And that's to say something, because I've been in film clubs where we are spending almost 3 hours on the bad. And this one we are picking at, we're even having thematic discussions. We are not saying, where did this person bring bow and arrow from, or where did this come from? Do you understand? We're actually having proper discussions about the film and the themes. We are not saying, where did this come from, or where did that come from? So this is such a good watch, and I really like it, and I would definitely recommend. Yeah, so that's it.
Thank you. Thanks, TFR. Fida, please give us a quick summary.
Okay. I love this movie. I love that its twin brother duo directed it. I love the screenplay, dialogue, acting, camera work, cinematography. I really enjoyed the cinematography because there are so many paintable scenes, and I look out for that in movies, and it had so many. I love the grainy scenes too. I love the costuming design. Mofe's character, so many things, the relationships that they showed, etc. I would recommend this movie. It's really my vibe. It literally has a lot of things I look for in a Nigerian movie. It's poetic, it's showing, not telling. I love a lot of lines in the dialogue. I love a lot of the characters and how they delivered. Yeah, recommend. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do you know what I realized? I realized we didn't say our bad.
Say your bad now.
Did you say your bad?
Okay, so you know what you're gonna do for me? You're gonna say your bads, and then you can choose one of them for me.
Okay. I think I had two things that minute things. So the first one is, I think the first two times I watched it, I didn't realize something did feel like, oh, this guy sounds a little strange, and I just thought, oh, Mofe's style a little off. But yes, people have said, mentioned the accent. But it took me to my third go because the guy's performance is so good. It's so good that yes, there's brief moments, and I don't know whether he has so little lines that, again, like, it's something that usually would stand out. It reminded me of something that happened with Beast of No, almost the reverse of what happened in Beast of No Nation. I remember watching Beast of No Nation, and I remember just being offended by Idris Elba's West African accent. And I was like, oh, I was telling people on that I couldn't stand that Idris Elba's West African accent. And I remember showing it to somebody. I was like, I sat down with, I was like, it's a good film, but the West African accent is just awful. And I sat down with him, and I was like, is this the thing I was worried about? Yeah, it's not that bad. And I just saw Idris' performance more in the second one. But yes, after it was pointed out to me, I did notice it. I was like, oh, okay, that's what that was. But again, there's a reason why this movie is still 10. And the other thing for me was there was one sound thing where Uncle Vincent is coming into the room and he's speaking. I think it's after Grace and her friend are like doing this thing with their fridge has spoiled, and they're playing with is it plantain or banana? I can't remember. There's a shot where when Uncle Vincent comes into the room and Grace's sound is, I guess the boom mic is just much closer to Uncle Vincent, that Grace's one sounds way too further away for where she's placed from her shot. Like, given what I was saying, I did expect to hear her almost just as clearly because I think she's basically in the same frame right now. That's the nitpickiest of nitpicking, but yeah, that's the thing I found in sound. But like, other than that, yes, nothing else. So Mrs. C, you can pick whichever one you want from that.
Yeah, the distance from the sound. Let's go with that.
Oh, that's stealing. That's definitely not your type of thing. But okay.
I can choose anyone.
All right. Okay, but there's a but. Where were we? I think have you done your summary? I can't remember.
No, I have not done my summary.
Please
yeah, this movie is really, really good. You should watch it. It is made for the Nigerian eye. It's not necessarily made for a foreign eye. And you will see that when you watch it, it's a good movie. I recommend that people watch it. And again, if you don't like it, it's okay. You are free to watch whatever you want to watch. Okay. That's always going to be my recommendation, unless it's really, really bad. And there's only one movie I've ever told people never to watch on this show. On this film.
All right. Thanks, Ayinka. Cynthia? Cynthia, are you there?
Oh yeah, sorry. I was typing something. Yeah. So, like I said during my life, I guess somebody missed. Eyimofe is a very, very good movie. It felt very Nigerian. I think the writing was intentional. It was something I could connect with. It's something I would recommend. But like everyone has said, and I've said, the Rosa story was a bit a shadow. If not for this review, I wouldn't have known her name is Rosa. I had to like go back to be sure of her name. I didn't want to say any other thing. I also felt that Mofe's character was the weakest to me, even though his story was the better version, or he had the better story. But in whole, I would say this movie was really good. The Nigerianness was it for me. Like I said, the sarcastic tone, everything was just Nigerian. It felt Nigerian, and it's always going to stand out because we don't see the Hollywood trope, we don't see the Bollywood rain CGI. When you watch it, you know you're watching a culture, you know you're watching another culture, and that culture is Nigeria. So yeah, that's it. I always recommend.
All right, thanks, Cynthia. Mel, do you wanna go ahead with your summary?
Yes, I really enjoyed this. I had a good time. I was worried coming into it because I was just coming from like a dark place mentally, and I was being careful about what I was exposing myself to. So it took me the longest time to get to this just before film club today. But I'm glad I did. Was always going to anyway. But I'm glad I was able to do that so that I could speak about it today. I had a great time, and I can't wait to see it the second time with like my full presence of mind. Um, Definitely watch it. If you're a Nigerian who cares about Nigeria, I think it puts into pictures a lot of very moving, very present anxieties that we have. Um, I enjoyed it. I don't know what else to say.
Oh, thanks, Mel. Vanessa.
At all. I thought maybe I don't exist anymore. It just kept going on, going on. I mean, I was here, but no protocol. Yeah, I really enjoyed watching this. I had a good time. I I was fully immersed in the world. Um, like a lot of people have said, it felt like this was a story meant for Nigerians, and anybody who says this has a Eurocentric telling, they can like to shove it up where the sun don't shine. But I genuinely think this was written and told for Nigerians. In the little idiosyncrasies and the little things, they just felt very, very Nigerian, and I think it's important that our cinema reflects that versus a photocopy of Western media. But me, that's just me going off on a tangent. I just really like this. I would recommend it. I would watch it again. So yeah.
All right, thanks, Vanessa. Elizabeth, do you want to give us your summary? Elizabeth, you there? All right, we'll go to Eddie. Eddie, if you're there, give us your summary.
Yes, I am here. So yeah. Oh, okay. Okay, Elizabeth. No, we can. Go on, go on.
Oh,
She's
Your
probably have.
Elizabeth is in pain, so
Oh,
she's coming back.
okay.
all right. If not, Elizabeth, just do
Yeah,
a
just a quick one. Just a food for thought. Is it really overindulgence if it's reality? Because personally, I love the setting. I love the way the story was told. Because personally, I've had close relatives who've sort of lived, that kind of life. I mean, aside from the fact that they want to jackpot, they want to leave the shores of the country. But these are people who live in the village, coming to the city, quote unquote, coming to inner city Lagos, trying to make ends meet, and it was really personal, and you can tell from the film. Listen, I'll just say that shooting on film is single-handedly the best decision that Arie and Chuko might have made for the film, because if we were going to play this film 50 years from now, it would feel timeless. The film itself feels timeless. So shooting on Super 16, just shooting on 60 millimeters, beg your pardon, it makes it just gives it that timeless feel. And yeah, and it is really good. You can tell that this story was really, the filmmakers of the film were really, they're really informed, and really embodies the spirit of neorealism, telling real stories. We've never had a realism movement, even though the French they've had, even though the Taiwanese they've had, because the film, when immediately you see the film, you realize, you can really tell, if you're a cinephile, you can really tell that these guys are they're really influenced by the Taiwanese film movement from the 80s to the early 2000s. You can really tell, these guys love the neorealism film movement, and also the themes of the film really really relates to the lives of Nigerians as well. And I would recommend 10 over 10 any day, anytime. Yeah, so if you still haven't seen the film, please go check it out. It's I promise you, you won't regret it. So yeah, that's all I have to say.
All right, ringing endorsement from Eddie. Elizabeth, you back? All right, maybe not. Mel, did you have a TAS's summary you wanted to read out?
Yes, Otaz and I are besties. So I'm very honored to be reading out her summary. I found Eyimofe technically brilliant, but sadly disjointed. The arrangement of the story text takes us out of the best story and hey God, and drops us somewhere at the end of it. It has a lot of good things for it, but it loses me because of that reason. I would watch it again and I would recommend. High praise.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, if you only knew Otas, that is indeed high praise. All right. No, thanks a lot, Otas. Thanks for sending your summary. Despite not being able to get on. Does anybody have Elizabeth's summary somewhere? As she posted on Mrs. C, have you checked if she's posted her thing? Because I see her. All right. Okay. In the absence of that, do you want to do your summary for?
Yes. So I've trolled Mr. C about being a fanboy for him. I think I said simp. I think I said Mr. C is an Eyimofe simp. I've trolled him for this. But I do genuinely love this film. I love this film a lot. And I didn't think I would. I think even on my first watch, because we were watching it on the streamer and the network was dodgy and it was just, a bit, there was a bit of chaos going on there. But it has gotten better. Sorry, are we still on? Okay. It has gotten better with every watch for me. And I remember being really excited to start my third watch. It was bummed I didn't finish the third one before the film started. But I put my headphones on, I started the third watch, and I was just smiling at the start of it, right? And I know this beginning is gonna go to shit, right? but I'm smiling at the start of it anyway because it makes me feel good. And I think part of the reason why I like this film this much is that it's kind of a testament to what it's this thing of, and it's what Mrs. C was saying, like, we don't do rankings when we review our films, right? We've never done rankings. We don't rate, right? We don't do ratings. We don't do 5 out of 10, whatever. We don't, because we don't want to rate things as this is this for a Nigerian film, right? This is this for Nollywood. And then if we do a more honest rate, it gets weird, right? So we don't do ratings. But it's like, okay, like look at that, right? Look at what has been done. It can be done by us, right? And by us, I mean Nigeria and stuff. It can be done. It's been done. Someone's done it. Look at that. And it's just, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the performances. I enjoyed the stories. I noticed technical things, like in a good way. And, and I wasn't looking out for it. So, I did really enjoy that. Obviously, I would recommend this, like, a lot. I would recommend it.
Yeah. Thanks, Miss C. Elizabeth, that time's a charm.
Can you guys hear me now?
Kind of.
Yes.
Because I am suffering, guys. My gum is killing me. I have like this summary written in my head, and now I think I've forgotten everything. Okay. First there was. I know that this is my summary, but I'll just say this quickly. There was something being said about
Oh, Elizabeth, sorry. He's not that time lucky. I
Mofe
think
being a
we've
man,
lost her
why he was.
again.
I find that very
All
funny
right.
because Mofe is one
Yeah.
person
Just sorry if you can hear. Please tweet it, and we'll read it out.
Uh-uh.
Okay. All right.
I
So
started hearing her.
all
So,
No,
right.
no,
So
she's
I guess
lagging.
my
She's
summary
lagging.
is,
That's why.
yeah, I've given this a 10 out of 10, and if anybody that knows me knows this is not a thing I hand out like candy or any of that. Or I don't think I have done it. I mean, like I do have other 10 out of 10
yeah.
movies, but certainly no. Yeah, it's even with those, they're not that common. It's just like when I see things where it's just going over and beyond. One of the things that I even mentioned was like there's the situation with Rosa's white I can't remember his name because I don't remember names, but Rosa's white boyfriend. He's doing this conversation where Uncle Vincent is disturbing in the middle, but like he's doing commentary. The dialogue isn't just it's supposed to be almost like background noise, but it's good commentary on like our airports. It's a decent commentary on like an outsider's perspective of like our airport, sort of going through our airport customs and all of that. Yeah, that's the thing that is just like background. That's how much the film cares about everything. Yeah, again, obviously a huge recommend. Huge fan of this project, and I can't. I read somebody Eddie mentioned this being captured on film, and I read uh, an article by Tambe about how the Esiri brothers thought it was important that Lagos be captured on film as well. That was, and I guess thanks for doing that. I'm not that knowledgeable on all of our stuff. I think some of I don't know if Lagos has been, by. I think some of our other stuff may have been captured and filmed by some old timers, but like certainly nothing that's been released
No
on
film. There's
global
no one
platforms.
shooting on
But
film.
yeah, this is something I really enjoy. It's a huge recommend for me. All right, so this is where we'd usually round up, but we do have Chuko Esiri on, and he has gracefully been patient to listen to all of our drivel and our opinions and our thoughts as they come. It's not every filmmaker who does this, but like, thanks for doing it. Sir, I'm going to give it up to him. Whatever you want to say, what you thought, or opinions, or any added thing you wanted to say, Chico, please go.
No, nothing really. Just to thank all of you so much for watching the film, and every single thought and every single opinion is valid and treasured. My brother and I, we make the idea is to make things to reach people, like or not. So thank you for taking the time out of your days to watch it more than once. For some people, I can't tell you how much it means to us and to me personally as well. And also this whole Iroko critic journey thing, the Nollywood Film Club, I think it's a really, really wonderful. It's a wonderful thing that you're all doing here, and I really, really hope that you continue, and I really hope that it grows. But it's really just to relay my unending gratitude to every single person who's in this room now, and the people who were in and went out. But for everybody that saw the film, thank you so much. It really means a great deal, and it really to know that we managed to get to reach you the way we did is really, really encouraging, because sometimes working in Nigeria, you just feel like you're mad, or like you're just swimming against the current. But it's been very galvanizing. All your thoughts, all your opinions, all your feelings. Thank you so much. And lastly, to put this phone matter to bed, Rosa did have a Samsung phone, but my producer, who's wonderful, Melissa Demo, was like, we don't have clearance for the Samsung, or it would be a problem later on. So if she doesn't, you don't see her holding her smartphone because it was potentially a clearance problem. So that's a production issue. And it's why Grace is holding her phone in the way she is. But the original idea was that she hands down her smartphone to Grace, and she has a cheaper smartphone. And when she gets a new one, she gives it to Grace too. But yes, she did have that phone. It's just production budget was. That's it. Thank you.
Oh, all right. Okay. Thanks, Chuko. All right. It's funny. Like just before, I was like, I know Chuko can't make me like this film anymore. Is it gonna ruin this film for me? Thank you. You have not. All right. Anyway, but for everybody who has come, I noticed a lot of the producers as well. And people with the film. Thank you so much for listening to this all this time. Can't wait to see what you guys do next. It's Nollywood Film Club. We do this every week. They don't usually go like this. So it's come next week, Sunday, when we discuss something that we'll pick something, maybe put a poll up, and we'll see you next Sunday. But thanks everybody for joining. Thank you to all of our speakers. Thank you, Chuko, for speaking, and wish you guys all the best. And we'll see you next Sunday. Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Yeah.
everyone.
Okay. Thank you, Danny. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye, everyone.
Thanks for listening to the episode. If you enjoyed listening and would like to join live, just follow us on Twitter at Iroko Critic and join us every Sunday, 6 p.m. West African time on our spaces.